Chapter 1703. The heavenly wolf Mo Tianxiao was a nirvana paragon. His ancestors had never submitted to the dragons or phoenixes. Mo Tianxiao was the same. The blood of the heavenly wolf ancestor flowed in his body. He had never submitted to anyone before. But now, the heavenly wolf ancestor had submitted to the demon king, Du Xiaofu. If Kong Sansi, Heng Luan, Mo Runan, and the others were here, they would definitely be dumbfounded. Actually, the heavenly wolf ancestor had his own thoughts. No one would willingly submit, and it was even more impossible for him to do so. But he had been tempted by Du Xiaofu's words. Strictly speaking, he had been threatened by Du Xiaofu. The desolate nation had many nirvana paragons. He was the one who ruled the heavenly beast hall's beasts and guarded the desolate nation's territory. This could be considered giving him enough face and not lowering his status. He knew that the desolate nation only had a few nirvana grand paragons. Especially when Du Xiaofu said that he could control him with a beast-controlling technique. This made his last bit of persistence crumble. Mo Tianxiao also didn't want to die. The heavenly wolf race still needed him to pass on their legacy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sealed himself for so long and not broken through for so long just to enter the divine domain to fight for the final opportunity and bring hope to the heavenly wolf race. 100 years in exchange for his life wasn't considered lowering his status. After weighing the pros and cons, Mo Tianxiao was a smart person. It was precisely because he was smart that he chose to submit. No need for formalities. Du Xiaofu smiled, a satisfied smile on his resolute face. Du Xiaofu had allowed the heavenly wolf ancestor to submit without laying down a beast-controlling technique. On one hand, it was out of respect for the heavenly wolf race and Mo Tianxiao. But on the other hand, it was definitely possible to kill an expert like Mo Tianxiao with the blood-soul seal. However, it wouldn't be easy to lay down a beast-controlling technique. 4 hours later, in the vast divine mountain in a deep mountain stream, Du Xiaofu laid down a seal and summoned the ancient desolate space. He brought the stunned heavenly wolf into the ancient desolate space. Time treasure. The moment heavenly wolf Lonely Sky Howl entered the ancient desolate space, he immediately recognized the use of the ancient desolate space. There were only a few treasures like this in the entire world, and this space was even more extraordinary. This place has 10 times the time ratio. 1 day in the outside world is equivalent to 10 days in here. I need to go into seclusion for a period of time. If everything goes well, it will take 10 days to half a month. If not, it will take longer. Du Xiaofu didn't try to hide anything from Lonely Sky Wolf. As soon as he finished speaking, he formed a hand seal. With a thought, 2 resplendent objects appeared in his palm. The roar of a dragon resounded through the ancient desolate space and a terrifying dragon might swept out. Aoo, these were 2 true dragon horns. Du Xiaofu had obtained them from Dragon 4 and Dragon 3. They were the most precious treasures of the dragon clan. Some time ago, Du Xiaofu had erased all traces of the true dragon's horn. It was now masterless, but it still possessed a certain degree of offensive power. The dragon's might couldn't be violated. After all, it was the treasure of the dragons. It was difficult for anyone other than the dragons to control it. However, Du Xiaofu used the imperial qi and the human emperor's heavenly might to restrain it. At the very least, the true dragon horns wouldn't be able to attack him. A pair of true dragon horns. Lonely Sky Howl exclaimed. Although he had never seen a true dragon horn before, he recognized it at first sight. It was the most precious treasure of the dragons. Since you are looking for this item, take it and use it. Return it to me when you are done. I will use the imperial qi to suppress it. When the imperial qi weakens, it might be dangerous. Be careful. After Du Xiaofu gave the true dragon horns to Lonely Sky Howl, he walked away and started his seclusion. Holding the true dragon horns in his hand, Lonely Sky Howl's heart pounded. The true dragon horns that he had always wanted were now in his hands. When he formed an alliance with Gongsun Wuji, he only wanted to use the relationship between Gongsun Wuji and Long San to borrow the true dragon horns to comprehend. He didn't know if Long San would agree. However, at this moment, the two true dragon horns were so easily placed in his hands. As Mo Tianxiao looked at the purple-robed man sitting cross-legged in the distance, he noticed that the purple-robed man was in closed-door training and had not placed any restrictions before him. A strange fluctuation appeared in his eyes. After that, Lonely Sky Howl also sat cross-legged and started to comprehend the true dragon horns. But suddenly, Lonely Sky Howl looked at Du Xiaofu in the distance. In the direction of his gaze, he saw that in the center of Du Xiaofu's palm, electric arcs were flowing. There was a palm-sized ball of resplendent golden electric arcs that was emitting a surging pressure, causing his wolf soul to tremble violently. That terrifying lightning might seem to be innately capable of destroying all souls. That is, a spiritual lightning soul seed. Mo Tianxiao finally recognized the item in Du Xiaofu's hand. It was actually a spirit lightning soul seed. That was definitely a precious treasure. After which, Mo Tianxiao was surprised to see a resplendent silver-gold lightning arc shoot out from between Du Xiaofu's brows and wrap around the resplendent golden spiritual lightning soul seed. It seemed to be attempting to slowly approach it at a neither fast nor slow pace. Du Xiaofu was also trying to devour the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed in his seclusion this time. The soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed no longer had any trace of Han Qianran. It was like a newborn baby. Du Xiaofu wanted to use his spiritual lightning as a guide to make the spiritual lightning soul seed submit to him. Then, he would be able to easily fuse with it. Buzz, the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed fluctuated. At first, it was calm, but it was slowly approaching Du Xiaofu's spiritual lightning soul seed. Boom! However, the moment the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed approached Du Xiaofu's spiritual lightning soul seed, the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed suddenly changed its face. It tried to devour Du Xiaofu's spiritual lightning soul seed. It wanted to devour Du Xiaofu's spiritual lightning soul seed. Bastard! Du Xiaofu immediately retreated the power of his spiritual lightning soul seed. He raised his eyes and felt that the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed was instinctive. It seemed that the spiritual lightning soul seed wanted to devour each other. At first, the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed clustered around him and Moksha. It was not because it was attracted by something, but because it felt that he and Moksha had spiritual lightning. The soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed instinctively wanted to devour other spiritual lightning souls. Even if it was like a newborn baby, its instinct to devour other spiritual lightning souls would not change. Rumble, as the power of Du Xiaofu's spiritual lightning soul seed retreated, the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed was immediately triggered. The dazzling soul seed fluctuated violently. The golden lightning rushed into the void, and a terrible energy fluctuation suddenly surged. In an instant, the strange golden lightning arcs that were accompanied by golden lightning bolts exploded in the void and spread out in all directions. This terrifying aura seemed to be able to destroy all souls. Even Heavenly Wolf Lonely Sky Howl retreated, feeling apprehensive. Crash! The dazzling golden lightning arcs that could destroy all souls poured down. It was as if countless golden lightning bolts fell from the sky in the desolate ancient space. They densely covered Du Xiaofu's body. The golden lightning arcs were like a lightning prison, wrapping Du Xiaofu in it. It was obvious that the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed wanted to devour Du Xiaofu. Roar! The dazzling soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed fluctuated, and in an instant, it turned into a golden lightning tiger that was dozens of feet long. The tiger glared at Du Xiaofu covetously. Its eyes were like a sea of golden lightning. It looked like it was about to pounce and stared at Du Xiaofu. It had completely regarded Du Xiaofu as its prey. Du Xiaofu was helpless. The corners of his mouth curled up. He looked at the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed and said in a deep voice, "You want to do this the hard way." Roar, the dazzling golden lightning tiger moved, pouncing on Du Xiaofu. The dazzling golden lightning arcs formed stormy waves, sweeping towards Du Xiaofu. Evil beast. Du Xiaofu also moved. Silver gold lightning arcs fluctuated between his eyebrows, becoming more and more dazzling. They contained a violent destructive energy, and in an instant, they turned into a dazzling silver gold sea of lightning arcs. The frightening lightning arcs splashed into the sky, and a thunderous beast roar resounded. Roar, in a split second, a large silver gold lightning tortoise was formed. It raised its head like a huge dragon and soared into the sky. The frightening beast roar was like thunder from the 9 heavens. It was accompanied by resplendent lightning arcs and destructive lightning energy that shook the space as it soared into the sky in a frightening manner. It directly collided with the large golden lightning tiger in front of Mo Tian Zhao's stunned eyes in the distance. Rumble rumble rumble, this collision caused dazzling lightning arcs to overflow. Lightning runes crazily surged, as if the entire desolate ancient space was about to be shattered. In an instant, the lightning tiger could not withstand the lightning tortoise's collision. It shattered, turning into dazzling golden lightning arcs that blotted out the sky. Devour. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was familiar with the process. The lightning tortoise turned into a silver gold lightning tree, and with an earth-shattering momentum, it immediately took root in the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed. As the silver gold lightning tree took root, the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed's lightning arcs turned into a giant golden tiger again. Its eyes were filled with fear, but it was fighting like a trapped beast. The giant golden lightning tiger struggled violently, constantly releasing a terrifying destructive energy that could destroy all souls. Refine. Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed. He sat cross-legged on the silver gold lightning tree and circulated the mysterious incomplete cultivation method. With the suppression of the silver gold lightning tree and the lightning marshaled veins in his body, he began to devour and refine the soul-exterminating divine lightning soul seed. Chapter 1704. Was he refining the spirit thunder soul seed, or was he using his own primordial spirit to do so? If it was any other cultivator, they might not be able to do it. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu acted as if it was natural and easy. Under the suppression of Du Xiaofu's 3 spiritual thunders and the mysterious incomplete cultivation method, the giant golden lightning tiger had become weak after the struggle of a trapped beast. Gradually, it could no longer struggle. However, the spirit thunder was the most terrifying creature in the world. Although Du Xiaofu had already integrated 3 spirit thunders into his body and was familiar with the process, it would still take some time for him to truly absorb the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed. It was not without danger. He is using his primordial spirit to fuse with the spirit thunder soul seed. He has succeeded before, and it seems that he has fused with more than one spirit thunder soul seed. In the distance, Mo Tian Zhao's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Mo Tian Zhao finally knew why the Demon King was so strong. Fusing with the spirit thunder with his primordial spirit was simply playing with his own life. However, the Demon King still looked relaxed. He was an abnormal existence. Freak, that's too freakish. He's a monster. After a while, Mo Tian Zhao shook his head and sat down cross-legged to comprehend the true dragon's horn. Mo Tian Zhao no longer looked at Du Xiaofu. The true dragon's horn was in front of him, and it was the most important thing to him. After a while, he also sank into his comprehension. Time passed like this. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged on the lightning tree like an old monk in meditation. As time passed, the golden lightning tiger formed by the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed was completely powerless to resist. Its pair of fierce eyes revealed its last unwillingness and helplessness. Then, it dissipated and turned into bright golden lightning arcs that were absorbed by the lightning tree. Du Xiaofu was refining and fusing the fourth spiritual thunder soul seed. Under the suppression of the thunder martial vein and the mysterious incomplete cultivation method, refining and fusing the spiritual thunder soul seed was easier than Du Xiaofu had imagined. Under this kind of refinement, the soul-extinguishing divine thunder, which originally wanted to destroy all souls, became extremely tamed. It no longer resisted and gradually merged into the silver-gold lightning tree. This caused the golden light on the silver-gold lightning arc tree to have an additional touch of resplendent gold. Among them, Du Xiaofu felt that the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique had played a huge role. The thunder martial vein in his body was also indispensable, allowing the fusion of these spiritual thunders to be natural and perfect. As the soul-destroying thunder soul seed was being refined and merged, a surge of energy from the soul-destroying thunder soul seed surged into Du Xiaofu's Yuan spirit, causing the aura of Du Xiaofu's Yuan spirit to begin to swell. The soul-destroying thunder soul seed was originally refined by Han Qianran. The spiritual thunder and the refiner's body complemented each other. It could be said that the soul-destroying thunder soul seed's level was not lower than Han Qianran's. Therefore, the soul-destroying thunder soul seed was no different from the primordial spirit of a nirvana true self level, or even slightly higher. Such a soul-destroying thunder soul seed contained a huge amount of Yuan spirit energy. At this moment, as Du Xiaofu refined it, it was also obtained by Du Xiaofu. This was a huge benefit. Du Xiaofu's Yuan spirit was already very abnormal. At this moment, with such a benefit, it could be concluded that the power of his Yuan spirit would once again transform and become even more powerful. Time gradually passed in the outside world. All the creatures felt the changes in the entire divine realm space. The suppression on those who had surpassed the initial domain of the martial domain realm had completely disappeared. In the divine realm space, people, demonic beasts, and demon spirits who had surpassed the initial domain of the martial domain realm were all able to use their real strength. A variable. The divine realm space opened for the last time. This is a variable. Some of the elders were very excited. They were finally free from the suppression. Disciples with life-saving talismans, bring the news to the clan. There are endless opportunities in the divine realm space. Ask the clan to send more experts into the divine realm space to search for opportunities. Some of the elders spoke and instructed the younger generation. The divine realm space was no longer suppressed. It could allow more experts to enter and fight for opportunities. Other than the Supreme Tomb, there were still many opportunities in the divine realm space. The news spread to the Chenhuang mainland and shocked everyone. In the divine realm space, one's strength was no longer suppressed. Some of the elders could no longer hold back and began to enter the divine realm space to search for opportunities. All the clans were fighting for opportunities. Many of the older generation entered. Beware of the dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the people of legalism. The old lady spoke and sent many experts from the great golden-winged rock clan into the divine realm space to guard against the dragons and the others secretly sending people to deal with her grandson. The entrance to the divine realm space is a little loose. However, those who have surpassed the domain realm are still unable to enter. Old Monster Xing Hun spoke. He was testing the divine realm space. The school of Yin-Yang also sent many experts below the boundary realm into the divine realm space. There are variables in the divine realm space. We must guard against the dragons, the legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal, the old lady said. In the divine realm space, there was a vast ancient land. Clouds lingered and mountain streams spiraled. At this moment, there was a wild aura. It was as if no one had set foot in this place before. Roar, the sky was filled with light. A dragon's roar shook the sky. Above the wild land, the shadow of a dragon fluctuated. 1,000-foot sea serpent dragon spanned across the void. Its dragon scales were covered in reverse. A terrifying aura swept across the void. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The energy of heaven and earth surged and enveloped the body of the sea serpent dragon. Its aura continued to surge. When the sea serpent dragon's aura reached its peak, it paused for a moment. Above its ferocious head, there were 6 divine rings in the sky. They were bright and dazzling. As the heavenly might descended, it immediately broke through a bottleneck. Rumble, roar, in an instant, the void trembled. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Countless beasts roared in the wild mountains. Above them, all the beasts trembled. After a long time, the huge sea serpent dragon's body converged and turned into a middle-aged man in armor. The armor seemed to be made of reverse scales. It was suffused with radiance. This sea serpent dragon was none other than the Sea Serpent King. Back then, he was lucky enough to escape from Du Xiaoyao. At this moment, he had broken through again and advanced further. Who said that this place can't set foot in liberation? I've achieved liberation nirvana. I've succeeded, the Sea Serpent King laughed. He couldn't help but be so excited that the armor on his body fluctuated. The divine realm space had always been unable to break through to the realm and liberation nirvana level. It was a curse. For countless years, no one in this space could break through. Every time the divine realm space opened and closed, outsiders would be pushed out. They were the only ones who couldn't leave. There was a legend that only after breaking through to the realm and liberation nirvana could one walk out of this space. However, no one in this space had ever succeeded. At this moment, he had successfully set foot in liberation nirvana. Du Xiaofu, just you wait. Even if you enter the Supreme Tomb, you won't be able to leave this place. The greatest opportunity in the Supreme Tomb still belongs to me, the Sea Serpent King. Everything in here is also mine. A moment later, a cold light shot out from the Sea Serpent King's eyes. Last time, he had fled pathetically. He didn't even dare to fight for the Supreme Tomb again. One could imagine the resentment in his heart. Now that he had set foot in liberation nirvana, he wanted to make a comeback. Everything here belonged to him, and he was the king that had never been here before. The vast underground world was surrounded by the void. It was as if a peerless expert had dug out a huge arc-shaped hole in the ground. In the deep hole, runes flashed all around. Some of the flashing runes condensed into chains of light, emitting terrifying light like electric arcs. One end of these chains of light connected to the surrounding void and the underground rock walls. The other end was connected to a stone platform that was dozens of feet large in the middle of the deep hole. On the stone platform, a beautiful woman sat cross-legged. Her eyes were closed and her hair was slightly messy. However, she still had an otherworldly aura. This beautiful woman was Han Aodong. This was the prison of legalism. She had been imprisoned here all this time. Tsk tisk. Suddenly, Han Aodong opened her eyes. They were filled with dazzling light. She looked up into the distance. Ka, a stone door opened above her. Light spread out from it. A middle-aged man walked out. His eyes were deep, but he looked a little haggard. My good brother, you're finally here. Han Aodong spoke with a smile on her lips. However, her smile was heart-wrenching. The middle-aged man looked at Han Aodong from afar. After a long time, he said softly, Qianran is dead. Ingimo is dead. Wudi is dead. They are all dead. They were all killed by your son. He killed them all. As he spoke, the middle-aged man's deep eyes turned red. His haggard face trembled. Hearing this, Han Aodong's eyes also trembled. She stood up and stared at the middle-aged man. Her eyes were also moist. Han Qianran and Han Ingma were her nephews. She had watched them grow up. She could not bear to, my good brother, is this what you want? If it weren't for you, this wouldn't have happened. Are you satisfied now? Han Aodong asked. Her voice was also trembling. She was not happy at all. Only pain. All of this did not have to happen. However, it had happened now. It was also what she did not want to see the most. Ha 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 ha, the middle-aged man laughed. His laughter was terrifying. It made people's hearts tremble. Chapter 1705. After a long while, the middle-aged man looked at Han Aodong and said, "My good sister, don't you know regret? If it weren't for you, our legalism wouldn't have ended up like this. The alliance between the school of legalism and the school of vertical and horizontal was voided because of you. Wuxia went into seclusion because of you and couldn't recover. Now, everyone is dead. Wuxia is dead too. It's all because of you." Towards the end of his speech, the middle-aged man's teeth emitted a chilling aura. His expression was gradually turning insane. He said word by word, "Han Aodong, if you weren't my biological sister, I would definitely kill you." Han Aodong stared at the middle-aged man. Her eyes rippled. After a long while, Han Aodong looked at the middle-aged man and said, "Brother, others don't know how Ingma's mother died, but I know a little. Don't be so stubborn. I didn't say anything because you are my brother. You killed Ingma's mother with your own hands, right? I think if you want to kill me, there's nothing you can't do." Hearing this, the middle-aged man's eyes trembled, but he did not show much emotion. His haggard face was already blood-red as he looked at Han Aodong and said, "That's right, I killed Ingmo's mother with my own hands. From the beginning to the end, I never loved her, but I had no choice but to be with her. However, every day with her was torture. I couldn't take it. My patience had reached its limit, so I killed her. I couldn't take it anymore. And you are my sister. Otherwise, I would have killed you too. If it weren't for you, everything wouldn't have ended up like this. Because Ingma's mother accidentally discovered your secret, you killed her. You killed my sister-in-law. That's the real reason, right?" Han Aodong said softly to the middle-aged man after some hesitation. The middle-aged man's blood-red eyes trembled violently. Intense ripples appeared in his eyes. "I guessed your secret. I had a feeling when I was young. Now, are you going to kill me too?" Han Aodong said to the middle-aged man. Ha ha ha, the middle-aged man laughed again. He was the eldest son of the Han family, Han Aochen. His laughter was full of helplessness and loneliness, which made people feel sad for no reason. I hate that I'm a person of legalism. I hate that I'm the eldest son of the Han clan. Why does God have to toy with me like this? Why does he have to toy with me like this? I don't even have the right to pursue her." Han Aochen said with a trembling voice. "What you are pursuing is not something that can be accepted by the world, nor by legalism. Now that everything is over, you can turn back," Han Aodong said. "No, it's not over. It's far from over." Han Aochen shook his head. His hair was messy and his eyes were bloodshot. He stared at Han Aodong and said, "This is all because of you. That bastard and his son should not have appeared. Only by killing them can we end this. Ingma, Qianran, and Wuxia all died because of that father and son. I will avenge them. Du Tingxian and that bastard must die." As soon as he finished speaking, Han Aochen left with bloodshot eyes. The stone door closed, and Han Aodong was left alone in the vast secret chamber of the prison. In the ancient barren space, electric arcs were moving. The Soul Destroyer Thunder Soul Seed's bright golden electric arcs were being swallowed by the silver-gold electric arcs tree. The aura of the silver-gold electric arcs tree was getting stronger and stronger, and the light was getting brighter and brighter. Time passed slowly, and the ancient barren space fell into a state of silence. While refining the soul-extinguishing divine thunder soul seed, Du Xiaofu's mind was also immersed in a state of selflessness. In Du Xiaofu's mind, a purple nine-petaled lotus was moving with electric arcs. It was crystal clear, as if it was made of the most perfect purple spiritual jade in the world. It was natural and beautiful. In the middle of the purple electric lotus, there was a flat and smooth lotus seat. It was spotless, and it emitted a mist. It had an ancient aura. When the Soul Destroyer Thunder Soul Seed was completely refined by Du Xiaofu, the silver-gold electric arcs tree returned to the ancient barren space. It shone brightly and finally turned into the body of the red-bone horse monkey. It sat cross-legged on the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. The silver-gold electric arcs were bright and connected to the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. At this moment, in the ancient barren space, the energy of heaven and earth came from nowhere. It gathered in the surroundings and poured into the space between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows. Finally, it poured into his Naiwen palace. Du Xiaofu's redbone horse monkey primordial spirit sat cross-legged on the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. The silver-gold electric arcs moved and became brighter and brighter. Walala, this, waves of energy came from Du Xiaofu's Naiwen palace. These waves couldn't be seen with the naked eye, but they became more and more intense. They were vast and boundless. This aura was too extraordinary and ancient. It was accompanied by the aura of the silver net soul swallowing thunder, the great earth-shattering thunder, and the other 4 types of spiritual thunder. There was also a terrifying spiritual root pressure. The power of the primordial spirit had always been the most difficult to cultivate and increase. But at this moment, the primordial spirit energy coming from Du Xiaofu's body was enough to directly crush the primordial spirit of an ordinary person. Just how powerful was this? It could only be described as terrifying. At the same time, not far away in the ancient barren space, the true dragon's horn circled around Mo Tian Shao. His body was covered in a dazzling azure light. In the end, the azure light had already shot into the sky. Walala, at the same time, Mo Tian Zhao's aura began to soar. A woo, finally, a heaven-shaking roar shook the ancient barren space. Mo Tian Shao had transformed into his original form. The terrifying aura caused the surrounding space to boil. Under the shocking scene of lightning and thunder, Mo Tian Zhao's aura soared. 6 divine rings appeared above his head, and he broke through a bottleneck in one go, stepping into a new realm. Rumble, at this moment, wind and clouds surged around the ancient barren space. All the energy seemed to have turned into a huge whirlpool that wrapped around Mo Tian Zhao's body. It was like a miracle. Sizzle. Du Xiaofu opened his eyes and stood up. The silver-gold lightning in his eyes was dazzling as he stared at Mo Tian Zhao's body, which was causing a shocking commotion. His eyes were filled with shock as he said word by word, "Nirvana of liberation." It didn't take long for the commotion to calm down. Heavenly Wolf Gu Tian Shao withdrew his original body and turned into a handsome man with clear facial features. His eyes were bright, and the aura on his body had undergone an earth-shattering change from its original foundation. "Congratulations on your breakthrough," Du Xiaofu said. At this moment, he was also quite shocked. The nirvana of liberation was definitely not to be underestimated. It was far from what ordinary domain realm experts could compare to. "I could have broken through long ago, but I've been suppressing it. I had some insights on the true dragon's horn. I originally thought that I wouldn't be able to break through to the nirvana of liberation in the divine domain. I didn't expect that I would be able to break through," Mo Tian Shao said. At this moment, he was also full of doubts. There was a suppression in the divine domain. Domain realm and nirvana of liberation couldn't enter, and it was also impossible to break through to the domain realm and nirvana of liberation in the divine domain. However, he had succeeded. It's a little strange. Du Xiaofu also felt a little strange, but he didn't take it to heart. Mo Tian Shao had broken through to the nirvana of liberation. Even if he went out, he would be an absolute top expert in the world. Mo Tian Shao looked at Du Xiaofu. He felt that Du Xiaofu had merged with the spirit lightning soul seed, and his aura had risen a lot. He frowned and looked at Du Xiaofu in shock. Peak Nirvana of True Self? Yes, I have some insights. I should have reached the peak of Nirvana of True Self. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. After devouring the soul destruction divine lightning soul seed, the strength of his primordial spirit had increased a lot. In addition to his recent insights, he had also reached the peak of Nirvana of True Self. However, the higher the cultivation level, the improvement of Xian Qi and primordial spirit was no longer the main requirement for cultivation level improvement. Instead, it was more important for comprehension. It wasn't easy to go further, especially to the nirvana of liberation. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Mo Tianxiao couldn't help but feel shocked. He finally understood what it meant to have one's cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. The first few times they met, he could feel that Du Xiaofu's cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. At this moment, he saw it with his own eyes. How long had it been? This guy before him had improved a lot again. What shocked Mo Tianxiao even more was that the Demon King had actually merged with another spirit lightning. Mo Tianxiao could feel that Du Xiaofu definitely had more than 2 spirit lightnings. As for how many there were, he didn't know. However, Mo Tianxiao couldn't hold back the shock in his heart. Looking at Mo Tianxiao's flickering eyes, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly. He looked at Mo Tianxiao and asked, "Don't tell me you just broke through and want to attack me now?" Mo Tianxiao raised his eyebrows and looked at Du Xiaofu. He really did have such thoughts in his heart. However, Mo Tianxiao was only thinking about it. Even though he had just broken through to the nirvana of liberation and had improved a lot, he was still able to crush a nirvana true self cultivator. However, facing the inconceivable Demon King before him, the more Mo Tianxiao came into contact with him, the less confident he was. Furthermore, the Demon King had easily merged with another spirit lightning and improved his cultivation again. If they really fought, Mo Tianxiao had no confidence in himself at all. Mo Tianxiao wasn't stupid. He shook his head and said to Du Xiaofu, "I already promised to serve you for 100 years. I will do it." He. Du Xiaofu smiled. His smile was somewhat malicious as he said to Mo Tianxiao, "I still don't understand the nirvana of liberation. Can you tell me more about it? Everyone's nirvana is different. All things in the world are constantly changing. There is no constant ruler. The true self is not the true self. Nirvana is all emptiness." Mo Tianxiao frowned. Then, he said, "All things are impermanent. There is no self in all laws. Nirvana is silent. The true self is nirvana." Du Xiaofu humbly listened to Mo Tianxiao's teachings. Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao was a nirvana true self cultivator who had been a nirvana true self cultivator for several thousand years. Now that he had stepped into the nirvana of liberation, Du Xiaofu humbly asked for guidance and benefited a lot. After that, Du Xiaofu immersed himself in digesting and comprehending. He also placed Mo Tianxiao in the Heavenly Beast Hall. The Heavenly Beast Hall did not have the inheritance of the ancient Heavenly Wolf. However, there were many inheritances and treasures of the wolf race and other beast races, which were of great use to Mo Tianxiao. Mo Tianxiao returned the true dragon's horn to Du Xiaofu. He had already comprehended it and did not need to keep it for now. Furthermore, that true dragon's horn required the imperial palace's dragon qi to suppress it. It would be troublesome to keep it with him. Several days later, 2 people came out of the desolate ancient space and appeared above a mountain stream. These 2 were Du Xiaofu and Mo Tianxiao. These 2 had been in closed-door cultivation in the desolate ancient space. Now that they came out, they had undergone huge changes. Chapter 1706. Both of them had made significant progress this time. A moment later, Du Xiaofu and Mo Tianxiao appeared in a place filled with a bloody aura. There were many bloodstains all around, staining the rocks red. Many demon beast and human corpses were scattered everywhere. Ancient demon beast descendants and humans. The cultivation bases of their leaders are not bad. Tian Lang scanned the surroundings and said to Du Xiaofu. At dusk, Du Xiaofu and Mo Tianxiao appeared in a messy mountain forest. A bloody battle had just taken place here, so there were many corpses of demonic beasts in the surroundings. Among them, there were many corpses of cloud-devouring wolves and shrews. Greetings, Master. Yun Mu, Dang Hu, and another greater domain realm ancient demon beast descendant that had surrendered at the plaza bowed. Bing Feng and the hornless dragon were lucky enough to enter the supreme tomb. Yun Mu and Dang Hu, on the other hand, were not so lucky. Subsequently, from the mouths of Yun Yin and Dang Hu, Du Xiaofu learned of some shocking circumstances. A change had occurred in the entire god domain. Many ancient ruins had appeared. The humans who came from the outside world were no longer suppressed in the god domain. Many forces in the outside world, including the 9 great families, the dragons, the phoenixes, and the demon beast clans of the beast region, had sent many greater domain realm experts to compete for the opportunities in the god domain. Naturally, they would have to fight the ancient demon beast descendants here. No longer suppressed, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He immediately thought of the dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal. Now that a change had occurred in the god domain, cultivation bases were no longer suppressed. The dragons, school of vertical and horizontal, and legalism must have sent many people here. Du Xiaofu pondered. Not to mention whether the dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal were targeting him. He had not entered the supreme tomb. Now that he had a chance, he could make the dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal suffer a few times. Are there any experts who have surpassed the domain realm who have entered? Du Xiaofu asked Yun Mu. This was the question that Du Xiaofu was most concerned about. If everyone could enter the divine domain, it would be extremely troublesome. I don't think so. There is a restriction on the outside of this space. Cultivators above the realm level cannot enter. Yun Mu pondered for a moment before replying with certainty. Is that so? Then that's easy to handle. Let's just say that the dragons are unlucky. Du Xiaofu smiled to himself. As long as no one above the domain realm entered the divine domain, then even the dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, as well as the legalism, would be in trouble. Yun Zhan, do your best to help me find dragons, legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal. Du Xiaofu instructed Yun Mu. With the cloud-swallowing wolf shrew around, it would be much easier to hunt down the dragons, school of vertical and horizontal, and legalism. Yes. Yun Mu nodded. Then, he bared his rat-like teeth and said to Du Xiaofu, Master, there is something else that is not good. We have to be careful. What's wrong? Du Xiaofu asked. The Mirage Dragon King has broken through to the Nirvana realm. He is gathering all the beasts here to deal with you, Master, Yun Mu said. Upon hearing this, Mo Tianxiao's eyes rippled and a strange look flashed across them. The Mirage Dragon King has also broken through to the Nirvana realm. Du Xiaofu looked at Mo Tianxiao in confusion. It seems that something has changed in the 4 divine domains. That is why he was able to break through. Mo Tianxiao said to Du Xiaofu. He had been wondering how he was able to break through to the Nirvana realm in the divine domain. Now, it seemed that it was not because he was special, but because something had changed in the divine domain. Has the Mirage Dragon broken through to the Nirvana realm? The corner of Du Xiaofu's mouth twitched. He was not too worried. Not to mention that he was not afraid, Tian Lang had also broken through to the Nirvana realm. Master, if my guess is correct, the Mirage Dragon King is probably looking for Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King. If the Mirage Dragon King wants to unite all the beasts in this space, he must do so, Dang Hu said to Du Xiaofu. Then, from Dang Hu, Yun Mu, and the great domain realm beast, Du Xiaofu learned that 1,000 years ago, there were a total of 3 supreme beast kings among the ancient beasts in the divine domain. They were the Mirage Dragon King, Mia Meng King, and Thunder Eagle King. Mia Meng King's true form was a Mia Meng bird, and Thunder Eagle King's true form was a Thunder Eagle. Although the Mirage Dragon King was strong back then, Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King were able to keep him in check. They were even stronger than the Mirage Dragon King. However, 1,000 years ago, Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King had tried to break through the domain, but they had been suppressed by the space here. Both of them had been severely injured, but they had managed to survive. Since then, Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King had lived in seclusion, and the Mirage Dragon King had become the first king here. Yun Mu had mentioned this to Du Xiaofu, and Du Xiaofu still remembered it. However, Du Xiaofu did not know that Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King were also supreme Nirvana realm beasts. Du Xiaofu was a little moved by this. After Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King were both severely injured, although they lived in seclusion, they were afraid that the Mirage Dragon King would deal with them. Therefore, they formed an alliance. They are still extremely powerful and have great rallying power in this space. Therefore, if the Mirage Dragon King wants to unite everyone, he will definitely go back and find Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King, Dang Hu said. If the Mirage Dragon unites all the remaining demonic beasts and mingles with the dragons, it will be troublesome. Du Xiaofu frowned when he heard this. Although he was not afraid, many disciples of the desolate country were still in the divine domain. Once the Mirage Dragon King unites all the ancient demonic beasts, it would definitely be a terrifying lineup. If the Mirage Dragon unites with the dragons, it would be a great threat to the desolate country and the others. This was definitely not a good thing. Do you know the whereabouts of Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King? Du Xiaofu asked. He wanted to find Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King. At least, he could not let the Mirage Dragon become powerful. The mountains and valleys were lush and verdant. Swish, swish, many figures landed in the surroundings, and a vast aura immediately descended. The ones in the lead were quite a few elders. Their eyes were bright, blazing and intimidating. Search for the whereabouts of that little bastard. The legalism sect will reward you handsomely. You must find that little bastard as soon as possible, an elder said. His eyes were cold, and his aura was extremely vigorous. The dragon sect will also reward you handsomely. As long as you have news of that little bastard, you will be able to obtain the treasures of the dragon sect, a middle-aged man in battle attire said. Spread the news. As long as someone gives the little bastard accurate information, the School of Vertical and Horizontal is willing to take out a large domain-level elixir as a reward, an old woman said. Her hair was like fire, and her aura was intimidating. As per the elder's orders, immediately, many figures left amidst the whooshing sounds of wind being torn apart. This was a strange land. The energy of heaven and earth was rich, but there were electric arcs in the air. The surroundings were lush and verdant, and many of the plants were closely related to thunder and lightning. The plants filled with thunder and lightning were dazzling and sparkling. It was very magical. Roar in the depths of the earth, there were majestic mountains. Beasts roared like thunder, and a shocking aura soared into the sky. There were many ferocious demonic beasts roaring like thunder. In the sky, there were ferocious birds flapping their wings, and their ferocious auras swept out in all directions. Chapter 1707. Sea Serpent Dragon, what is the meaning of this? In front of the huge stone palace, a thunder eagle with a wingspan of only 1,000 feet exuded a shocking aura. Its feathers were covered in lightning runes, and its aura was extremely shocking. Beside Laying was a Miemeng bird with a wingspan of only 1,000 feet. Its entire body was green, and its feathers shone brightly. However, its tail was fiery red. This Miemeng bird was very strange. There was a pair of strange claws above its sharp claws, which looked like human arms. However, both the Thunder Eagle and the Myemang bird gave off an extremely powerful aura. Thunder Eagle, Myemang, follow me, and you will benefit greatly. When the time comes, this entire space will belong to us. Everything in the Supreme Tomb, even if someone else obtains it, will belong to us. The Sea Serpent Dragon King hovered in the sky. His armor shone, and many powerful ancient monster species followed behind him, exuding a powerful and ferocious aura. Sea Serpent Dragon, you are not qualified to make us follow you. The Thunder Eagle said. Its voice was sharp, and lightning shot out from its eyes. It was frightening to look at. Do you think that after enduring for 1,000 years while the Thunder Eagle and I are injured, you can't take it anymore? The Myemang bird said. It looked at the Sea Serpent Dragon with a cold light in its eyes. If you are not convinced, then don't blame me for being rude. The Sea Serpent Dragon sneered. He had already broken through to the Moksha realm and didn't want to waste time talking. He waved his hand at the powerful monster kings behind him and said, "Kill." Roar. In an instant, the monster kings who had reached the Great Domain Realm and the Sealed Domain Realm leaped forward. Shocking auras erupted from their bodies as they activated their huge bodies. With a terrifying aura, they roared and pounced at the monster kings behind the Thunder Eagle King and the Myemang King. Roar. The monster kings behind the Thunder Eagle King and the Myemang King also erupted with bright runes. They immediately collided with the monster kings around the Sea Serpent Dragon King. Bang, 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 in an instant, those demonic beast kings violently collided with each other as they roared. The surrounding mountain rocks were shattered, and the space trembled. Their roars were like thunder. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. You are already outdated. Follow me. This is your last chance. The Hui Dragon King sneered. He was very fierce and powerful as he pointed at the Thunderhawk King and the Destruction King. Sea Serpent Dragon, you were so respectful to us back then. Are you rebelling now? Myemang King was not afraid. His voice was cold. Ha, all of you are just losers. What qualifications do you have to be brave? The Sea Serpent King laughed proudly. Suddenly, his body shone brightly as he transformed into a 1,000-meter-long Sea Serpent Dragon. He looked at the Thunder Eagle King and Myemang King with disdain, releasing a terrifying aura. The despicable person who was so respectful back then wants to rebel. You're courting death. The Thunder Eagle roared and flapped its wings. Electric arcs surged around its body. Everywhere it passed, thunder and lightning surged, bringing with it a destructive aura. Lei Ying, you're not the same as before. The Sea Serpent roared, and its entire body glowed with light. Divine light burst from its huge body and collided with Yi Futian's attack. Its huge body was full of astonishing combat power. Bang! Bang! The two collided. The Thunder Eagle's wings collided with the Sea Serpent Dragon's tail. Light burst out, and divine light swept out like a tidal wave. The waves rolled, thunder rumbled, and the space resounded. Sea Serpent Dragon, you're courting death. Myemang King flapped his wings and flew across the sky. His body shone with green light and a scorching aura. He instantly appeared beside the Sea Serpent King. You're no match for me even if you join forces. The Sea Serpent Dragon sneered. Light overflowed, and its dragon body flipped in the void. It spat out a dragon breath, and bright runes flashed in its mouth. It turned into an illusory Sea Serpent Dragon shadow and collided with Myemang King. Bang! 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 Myemang's body and the Thunder Eagle's body were pushed back at almost the same time. Their bodies flew away, and the ground below shook and the mountain peaks cracked. In an instant, the Sea Serpent Dragon had pushed back Thunder Eagle King and Myemang King. It had the upper hand even though it was 1 against 2. Nirvana of liberation. The Thunder Eagle King was pushed back, and the electric arcs in his eyes fluctuated violently. Sea Serpent Dragon, you've broken through to Nirvana of liberation. Mia Meng King said. His eyes were filled with disbelief, and his soul was trembling. At this moment, both Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King could feel that the Sea Serpent King was no longer the same as before. That level could not escape their prying eyes. It was the Nirvana of liberation. What shocked Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King even more was that they had failed to break through to the Nirvana of liberation. They had been severely injured and had not fully recovered even after 1,000 years. Now, the Sea Serpent King had broken the curse in this space and successfully broken through to that level. How could they not be shocked? Ha ha ha, you failed back then. Now, I've succeeded. Follow me and submit to me. You won't be my match anymore. The Sea Serpent King laughed. Back then, he had been suppressed by Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King, and had to smile. Now that he could finally do without fear, this feeling made him very happy. Boom! When the laughter faded, the Sea Serpent King no longer concealed his Nirvana of Truth aura. It swept out, and a terrifying power stirred the power of heaven and earth, crushing the void in all directions. Roar, the Sea Serpent King roared, and its aura rolled out. The aura of the Nirvana of Truth aura made the beast souls of the ancient demonic beasts in the surrounding mountains tremble and want to crawl. Roar! The beasts roared, and the mountains trembled. The earth quaked. The kings of the ancient demonic beasts that were fighting fiercely also stopped under the aura released by the Sea Serpent King. Their bodies trembled. Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King looked at each other. Even at their peak, they would not be able to do anything to the Sea Serpent King. Moreover, they had forcefully broken through to the Nirvana of liberation 1,000 years ago and were severely injured. However, their injuries had not healed for 1,000 years, and now they were even less of a match for the Sea Serpent King. Mia Meng, Thunder Eagle, a wise man submits to circumstances. This is your last chance. If you don't submit to me, I'll have to destroy you. The Sea Serpent King sneered, and its eyes looked down at Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King with arrogance. Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng stood together, their eyes solemn. Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King knew very well that if they did not submit to the Sea Serpent King today, the Sea Serpent King would not let them go. Now that the Sea Serpent King had stepped into the Nirvana of liberation, they were no longer a match for it. They only had two choices. Either submit to the Sea Serpent King, or die. Mixed Blood Dragon, you fled like a stray dog back then. I didn't expect you to come here and show off. Suddenly, a voice sounded from the distant void. Whoosh whoosh, at the same time, two figures flew over from the distant void. One was a purple-robed man with a resolute face, and the other was a green-robed man with a chiseled face. The two figures flew over and appeared extremely small in front of the Sea Serpent King's enormous body. Even compared to Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng's 1,000 feet tall bodies, they were extremely inconspicuous. However, the invisible aura that spread from their bodies distorted the void for no reason, and they were not suppressed by the Sea Serpent King at all. Du Xiaofu, Tian Lang. When the Sea Serpent King saw the two men, his pupils constricted and he trembled. How could the Sea Serpent King forget the two figures, especially the purple-robed man? He remembered him. Seeing the Sea Serpent King's reaction, Mia Meng King and Thunder Eagle King were secretly surprised. The newcomer should have a close relationship with the Sea Serpent King. It seemed that the Sea Serpent King had suffered a great loss at the hands of the newcomer. Then, they sized up Du Xiaofu and Tian Lang with curiosity and vigilance. Du Xiaofu appeared and looked at Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King. He recognized them and said, "You must be Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King. I have some old scores to settle with this mixed blood dragon. How about I borrow your treasured land?" "No problem, use it as you wish." Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng were solemn when they heard that. Seeing that someone had come to cause trouble for the Sea Serpent King, they were more than happy to oblige and immediately nodded. "He, I heard that you have not entered the Supreme Tomb. I was just about to look for you, but you have delivered yourself to me." Seeing Du Xiaofu suddenly appear, the Sea Serpent King was stunned for a moment before he sneered. The Sea Serpent King was no longer the same as before. He had now reached the Nirvana realm and had heard that the Demon King Du Xiaofu had not entered the Supreme Tomb but had obtained the spiritual Thunder Soul Seed. He wanted to take revenge and obtain the spiritual Thunder Soul Seed as well as the true dragon horn on Long San. He did not expect the person he was looking for to appear in front of him. "Looking for me? That's not necessary. We meet again." Du Xiaofu looked at the Sea Serpent King and smiled faintly. He had found this place while following Yunmu and Dang Hu. He did not expect to meet the Sea Serpent King here. Facing the Sea Serpent King who had now reached the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu was not afraid. He could even deal with Tian Lang, who was beside him. "Tian Lang, are you with this human?" The Sea Serpent King did not take Du Xiaofu seriously anymore. If it was before, he would have been very wary of him. However, he had now reached the Nirvana realm and his strength had improved tremendously. He was completely different from before. He was no longer worried about Du Xiaofu. The Sea Serpent King found it strange that Tian Lang had been with Gongsun Wuji from the school of vertical and horizontal. Now, he was with the Demon King Du Xiaofu. This surprised him. "This has nothing to do with you. Surrender yourself." Tian Lang stared at the Sea Serpent King with azure light in his eyes. He was not afraid of the descendants of the true dragon. Although the Sea Serpent King's bloodline was not weak among dragons, he naturally did not take him seriously. His Tian Lang bloodline was definitely not weaker than the Sea Serpent King's. It was even stronger. "If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." The Sea Serpent King replied to Heavenly Wolf Lonely Sky Howl. As powerful as he was, he had already stepped into the Nirvana realm. How could he care about Heavenly Wolf at this moment? His cold shout was like a dragon's roar. As soon as the Sea Serpent King finished speaking, his enormous dragon body flipped over. With a terrifying aura, he swatted towards Heavenly Wolf Lonely Sky Howl and Du Xiaofu. The Sea Serpent King attacked. He did not want to waste words. He wanted to kill Tian Lang and Du Xiaofu directly. Chapter 1708. Rumble. The huge dragon tail crashed down, stirring up a storm. Space twisted and shattered as it swept down like lightning. "You're the one who's looking for death, you mixed-blood dragon." Tian Lang growled. With a boom, green light erupted from his body. His Nirvana realm aura also erupted without any concealment. He shot out like a bolt of lightning. His claw tore through the void like a bolt of green lightning as it swiftly grabbed the Hui Dragon King's giant tail that was crushing down at him. With a whoosh, the terrifying Mirage Dragon's huge tail was stopped. At the same time, there was the sound of metal clashing. Sparks flew and dragon scale runes flickered. It was about to crack. The Mirage Dragon's huge tail wasn't crushed, but in pain, it immediately flew away. Nirvana Realm. You've reached Nirvana Realm too. The Mirage Dragon King coiled in the air and stared at Mo Tianxiao. His huge eyes were filled with shock. The Mirage Dragon King had thought that he was the only Nirvana Realm cultivator here. He didn't expect Sky Wolf to have reached this level too. Another Nirvana Realm cultivator. In the distance, Thunder Eagle King and Miameng King were also shocked. Two Nirvana Realm cultivators had already appeared in this space. They couldn't help but be shocked. Boom! Suddenly, the vast void began to tremble. In an instant, the surrounding void began to distort and become chaotic. A strange pattern appeared in the space, covering the vast space and forming a void 8 trigrams. The huge 8 trigrams spread, enveloping Sky Wolf Mo Tianxiao and the Mirage Dragon. The Mirage Dragon King seemed to sense something. His dragon's soul trembled for no reason and he immediately retreated. But it was too late. The surrounding space was chaotic. The strange pattern spread for tens of thousands of feet, restricting the Mirage Dragon King everywhere. At this moment, with Du Xiaofu as the center, the Void 8 trigrams spread out like a divine ring. The Void 8 trigrams shone with dazzling light, creating all kinds of phenomena. There were mountains and lakes, wind and rain, thunder and lightning alternating, sun, moon, and stars changing, mountains and rivers moving. This was Du Xiaofu's attack. He was afraid that the Mirage Dragon King would escape again. At this moment, the Mirage Dragon King was already at the Nirvana realm. Du Xiaofu used all his strength and held nothing back. He was determined to keep the Mirage Dragon King here and not give him a chance to escape again. Last time, this Nightmare Dragon King had escaped from Du Xiaoyao, which showed that it was not an ordinary creature. Du Xiaofu had to be careful and used his full strength. Roar! When the 8 trigrams appeared in the void, a terrifying pressure filled the air. All the ancient demonic beasts in the surroundings trembled. Not good, the Sea Serpent King's dragon soul trembled and roared. However, no matter how hard Nightmare Dragon King tried, he couldn't break free from the strange void pattern. From within the 8 trigrams in the void, a strange and vast might could directly suppress his Nirvana realm cultivation base. Roar! The Sea Serpent King roared and activated his supreme power. A divine ring like a divine flame appeared in the sky and its power skyrocketed. The terrifying power shook the void and destroyed a large area of space. It seemed to want to shatter the 8 trigrams in the void. Let's work together and kill the mixed blood dragon according to my instructions. Du Xiaofu's voice reached Mo Tianxiao's ears. Within the 8 trigrams in the void, Mo Tianxiao was not suppressed. Roar! Mo Tianxiao activated his true body and activated the Nirvana power of the Lesser Sovereign. The 100-feet-long body of the Azure Light Heavenly Wolf was mighty. According to Du Xiaofu's voice, the Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao's true body shuttled through the 8 trigrams in the void and pounced on the Mirage Dragon King. He's also a supreme Nirvana realm cultivator. In the distance, Thunderhawk King and Miameng King were already trembling under the strange void pattern. They were once again surprised by the Heavenly Wolf's supreme Nirvana realm cultivator. No wonder this beast and man dared to fight against the Mirage Dragon. They were indeed not to be trifled with. Almost at the same time, thunder resounded in the sky. Winds rose and clouds surged. In an instant, thunderclouds covered the entire sky. In an instant, purple lightning arcs spread out for tens of thousands of feet, as if countless purple streaks of light were pouring down from the sky. Purple lightning runes radiated brightly, and a murderous aura swept out, causing the entire space to tremble. Du Xiaofu activated his lightning martial vein and appeared in the 8 trigrams. Purple lightning arcs flickered all over his body. Above his forehead, 9 divine flame-like halos connected the heavens and the earth. The might of the heavens and the earth descended, and the Nirvana realm cultivator's aura spread out. What a terrifying aura of lightning! Thunderhawk King trembled. As a Thunderhawk, he was born to cultivate the lightning profound. He was the pride of the lightning profound. However, under the terrifying murderous aura of the lightning profound, his beast soul trembled and couldn't resist. A supreme Nirvana realm cultivator. That human is a legendary supreme Nirvana realm cultivator. Miameng King exclaimed as he recognized the identity of that supreme Nirvana realm cultivator. His divine soul trembled, and his feathers stood up. Roar! The shocking commotion caused the ancient demonic beasts in the surroundings to roar and crawl. Suppress! Du Xiaofu made his move and soared into the sky. He activated the golden peng wings on his back and transformed into a true peng in human form. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was attacking with all his might. He was like a monstrous overlord that had been born. He erupted with endless divine light and lightning, forming all kinds of energy ripples that attacked the 1,000-foot-long sea serpent dragon. The power of a supreme Nirvana realm cultivator, the golden ping bird's beast energy, the lightning martial vein, and the 8 trigrams. At this moment, Du Xiaofu condensed them together. How terrifying was its might! It shattered the void. This was enough to show that Du Xiaofu didn't underestimate the Sea Serpent King at all. He didn't dare to be careless. He and Heavenly Wolf Lonely Sky Howl attacked with all their might. Roar! Heavenly Wolf roared. He activated the Heavenly Wolf's beast energy and cooperated with Du Xiaofu to kill the Sea Serpent King. Heavenly Wolf alone wasn't weaker than the Sea Serpent King. Now that Du Xiaofu was attacking with all his might, the Sea Serpent King's situation was obvious. Although Du Xiaofu had yet to reach the Nirvana stage of Nirvana, with his freakish strength, when he was at the Nirvana stage of Nirvana, he had still battled the peak Nirvana stage Celestial Wolf Lonely Sky Howl and Heavenly Fiend Yeluhan. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was at the peak of the Nirvana realm. With the 8 trigrams, Du Xiaofu definitely wasn't weaker than Heavenly Wolf Lonely Sky Howl. Previously, when Lonely Sky Howl broke through to the Nirvana realm, he didn't dare to attack Du Xiaofu. Roar! Under the siege, the Sea Serpent King unleashed all his strength. He dispelled Du Xiaofu and Heavenly Wolf's attacks, but he was suppressed by the 8 trigrams. The pitiful Sea Serpent King didn't take Du Xiaofu and Heavenly Wolf seriously. At the Nirvana realm, he thought he could be proud of everything in the divine domain. Who knew that in the blink of an eye, he would be suppressed and besieged so pathetically? Whoosh! Du Xiaofu wasn't fighting. He was completely surrounded. His eyes were like lightning. He appeared and disappeared unpredictably on the 8 trigrams. His body rippled as he summoned the purple gold heavenly tower. Roar! Ghosts wailed and gods howled. Dragons roared and tigers roared. The purple gold heavenly tower showed its power. Its sword radiance filled the sky. It contained the dominating sword Dao as it continuously attacked the Sea Serpent King. Thunder Eagle King was exterminated. Monarch Meng was stunned. How domineering was that human? He was clearly at the Nirvana realm, but he was even stronger than a Nirvana realm cultivator. The supreme golden-winged rock beast aura on the human made him seem like a golden-winged rock instead of a human. Whoosh whoosh, Du Xiaofu brandished his sword. His sword chi was like a golden rainbow. The sword radiance was resplendent and sharp. Runes intertwined and carried purple-gold electric arcs. It was extremely powerful and constantly shattered the void. At the same time, Du Xiaofu activated the Dark Seeker Grass and the Grass of Immortality. They shone resplendently as they devoured vitality and suppressed evil. It was extremely miraculous. Roar roar, the Sea Serpent King was already using all his strength, but his dragon scales were still cracked. He was constantly bleeding from Du Xiaofu and Heavenly Wolf's attacks. The Sea Serpent King's ferocious roar was like thunder. His rage was mixed with fear. The more he fought, the more fearful he became. Mo Tianxiao didn't hold back either. Now that he had broken through to the Nirvanic Nirvana realm, he seemed to want to know just how strong he had become. He attacked with all his might, coordinating with Du Xiaofu's voice transmissions and attacks. Every time he attacked the Nightmare Dragon King, he would inflict massive damage. Find an opportunity and attack with all your strength. Don't give that mixed-blood dragon a chance to self-destruct. Du Xiaofu's voice transmission reached Mo Tianxiao's ears. If the Nirvana Realm Sea Serpent King was pushed to the end and self-destructed, it wouldn't be a joke. Du Xiaofu didn't want to lose 800 of his own to kill 1,000 enemies. Under such repeated attacks, Mo Tianxiao found an opportunity. The green light on his body suddenly surged, turning into a green river that swept out in all directions. The runes were incomparably dazzling, and the surrounding green light and mysterious runes bloomed like the sun. Heavenly Wolf howls at the moon. Heavenly Wolf. The heavenly wolf raised its head and roared. The void rumbled, and a vast aura filled the air. Countless ferocious giant wolf phantoms leaped about. The terrifying might made the surrounding ancient demonic beasts tremble in fear. The beast souls were terrified and wanted to prostrate themselves. This was Mo Tianxiao's killer move. It caused the space to ripple as he attacked the Sea Serpent King with all his strength. Sea Serpent Illusion. The Sea Serpent King trembled and resisted with all its strength. Its dragon body flipped and countless phantoms surged out, enveloping the void and resisting Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao. Earthly Fire Bright Destruction. Heavenly Luster Trigram Destruction. Heavenly Fire Dual Destruction. But at the same time, strange hand seals condensed from Du Xiaofu's hands. The 8 trigram diagram changed, and a vast pressure appeared in the void. Rumble, suddenly, lightning stars appeared in the void of the 8 trigram diagram. Blazing flames burned, and the mountains and rivers moved. The entire area seemed to be affected at this moment. The power of heaven and earth pressed down, and the heaven and earth resonated. Resplendent runes surged like the sea, creating layers of stormy waves. The heavens above shake the earth below, the heavenly thunder will not be recklessly broken. Boom! Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed continuously, and the void above the 8 trigram diagram changed again. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Terrifying thunderbolts traversed the universe. During the battle with Moksha, Du Xiaofu activated the 8 trigram diagram with all his strength. It could even suppress Moksha's perfected Grand Supreme Nirvana power. Although the Sea Serpent King had reached the Nirvana realm, with Moksha's strength and Nirvana cultivation, he could still fight against a Nirvana realm expert. Moreover, although the Sea Serpent King was at the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu had not reached the Nirvana realm yet. But in this period of time, his comprehension of various things had improved, and he had fused with the soul-annihilating Thunder Soul Seed. The 8 trigram diagram in the void rippled violently, and all kinds of terrifying phenomena appeared. The surrounding void shattered inch by inch and was annihilated. Crack, crack, the pitiful Sea Serpent King was completely suppressed. The dragon scales on its body were shattered, and the Sea Serpent King's body was cracked. It was covered in blood, and it spat out blood. Chapter 1709. Qi. The real rock behind Du Xiaofu flapped its golden wings, sending out a blinding golden light that swept through everything. His eyes were purple and golden like lightning. He rushed out and gathered a palm, slamming it towards the heavily injured Hui Dragon King. Du Xiaofu's palm was covered with a mystical seal. The figure of a golden-winged rock appeared, shining with golden light and flickering with silver-yellow lightning. A monstrous pressure radiated from it. A monstrous pressure descended. It contained a pressure that all beasts could not resist. This pressure came from the souls of all beasts, from their bloodlines. Roar! At this moment, all the ancient demonic beasts in the area trembled and prostrated themselves on the ground. The heavily injured Sea Serpent King, who was vomiting blood, was even more shocked. The terrifying pressure made the dragon soul in Nightmare Dragon King's mind tremble. This was the descent of a supreme beast. He was completely suppressed. Blood Soul Seal. Roar. Du Xiaofu's palm landed on Nightmare Dragon King's forehead amidst the roars of dragons, phoenixes, lions, and tigers. Instantly, a terrifying pressure erupted. Du Xiaofu wasn't using beast-controlling techniques. He was using the Blood Soul Seal to kill Nightmare Dragon King. The terrifying pressure contained in the Blood Soul Seal was the nemesis of all beasts. It had a huge suppressive effect on all beasts. Nightmare Dragon King's pupils constricted as he was attacked by the Blood Soul Seal. Kill. Roar. His purple robe fluttered and his hair rippled with purple lightning arcs. The next moment, Du Xiaofu didn't waste any time. The purple-gold heavenly tower filled the sky with supreme power. 9 divine rings appeared in the sky. The sword slashed through the void, accompanied by the cries of ghosts, dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles. It was earth-shattering. Chi-la-la, this sword carried the power of heaven and earth. It smashed the 6 divine rings above Nightmare Dragon King's head into pieces. The purple gold sword radiance landed on Nightmare Dragon King's neck like a thunderbolt. The sound of metal clashing resounded. Sparks bloomed on the dragon scales like fireworks. This sword was intertwined with dazzling runes and purple gold lightning arcs surged. It was as if the void was shaking. Chi-la. Wherever the sword light passed, the sea serpent's ferocious head was separated from its body. The blood of the supreme sea serpent spilled out, but it did not disperse. It was dazzling. Peng peng, the enormous body of the sea serpent was cut into 2 and fell to the messy ground below, causing the ferocious gazes of the ancient demonic beasts to tremble and their beast souls to tremble. The Clan Dragon King's ferocious head rolled. Its ferocious dragon eyes constricted in its final fear and despair. The dragon's soul in its mind was also shattered. It did not escape death. Even someone as powerful as the Nightmare Dragon King would never have dreamed that he would be killed after breaking through to the Nirvana stage of Nirvana. However, the Sea Serpent King did not know that his proximity to the dragons had brought him a fatal calamity. Dead. The Sea Serpent has been killed. The hearts of Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King trembled when they saw Nightmare Dragon King's hideous head rolling on the ground. This was a huge blow to them. He's not weak at all. Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao withdrew his true form and transformed into the angular azure-robed man. He landed in front of Nightmare Dragon King's enormous corpse with a look of shock in his eyes. The Sea Serpent King's strength was not to be underestimated. At this moment, Mo Tianxiao was also shocked by Du Xiaofu's abnormal strength. He was glad that he had held back from attacking after breaking through. From the looks of it, Mo Tianxiao knew that even if he had attacked back then, he would not have gained any advantage in the end. Followers of the mixed blood dragons, submit to me and I will spare your lives. Otherwise, I will kill you without mercy. Du Xiaofu stood in the air, his voice booming. We are willing to submit, roar. The demonic beasts that had been following the Sea Serpent King looked at each other. After witnessing the shocking death of the Sea Serpent King with their own eyes, they no longer had a choice. Their expressions changed as they chose to submit. Master, Yunmu, Dang Hu, and the others flew over from the distance. They were much slower and had only just arrived. When they saw the Sea Serpent King's corpse, they trembled violently inside. A Nirvana Sea Serpent King is a great tonic. Don't waste it. I'll leave it to you guys. Wash it well. Du Xiaofu's figure landed and withdrew everything. However, the purple robe on his back was destroyed by the great pin golden wings, revealing 2 holes. After digging out the Sea Serpent King's bones and pulling out the dragon horns, Du Xiaofu instructed Yunmu and the others to wash the Sea Serpent King's corpse clean. Du Xiaofu did not forget to instruct Yunmu and the others to collect the Sea Serpent King's dragon scales. The scales on the Sea Serpent King's body were definitely treasures. After a while, the aroma of meat filled the air. The Sea Serpent King's treasured soup was suffused with multicolored light and rich energy waves. This was not the first time Yunmu and Dang Hu had eaten it. They did not hold back at all and were already drooling while washing it. Du Xiaofu ate the roasted meat and drank the Sea Serpent King's treasured soup. He wanted to obtain some benefits by killing the Sea Serpent King. When the time came, he would be able to break through and advance further. Thunderhawk King, Mia Meng King, do you want to have a taste? This is your territory after all. Du Xiaofu did not forget Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King and called out to the 2 beasts. The aroma of the roasted meat filled the air and the Sea Serpent King's treasured soup bubbled. Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King naturally knew that the benefits were amazing and could not hold back. Although they were secretly wary, they could not hold back in the end. Thunderhawk King transformed into a handsome middle-aged man with lightning flashing in his eyes. Mia Meng transformed into a beautiful middle-aged woman in a long green dress with reddish hair. After the two beasts transformed, they also joined in on the roasted meat. "Come, you guys come and have some too," Du Xiaofu said to the kings of the ancient demonic beast remnants who had just submitted and the kings of the ancient demonic beast remnants behind Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. The kings of the ancient demonic beast remnants behind Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King looked at Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. Then, under Thunderhawk King's and Mia Meng King's signal, they could not hold back and charged forward. The beasts ate heartily. Mo Tianxiao also wolfed down the food. The atmosphere among the group of beasts was actually very harmonious. The Sea Serpent King's corpse was huge, but Sky Wolf, Dang Hu, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King had big appetites. It did not take long for them to be completely devoured. The kings of the ancient demonic beast remnants were still savoring the taste. "I heard that the two of you were severely injured when you tried to force your way through." Du Xiaofu wiped the grease off his mouth and asked Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. "We forcefully broke through in order to fight for a chance of survival. However, we did not expect to be severely injured in the end. Although we managed to survive, we still have not fully recovered after 1,000 years, let alone improve further. Otherwise, the Sea Serpent King would not have been able to come here and show off," Thunderhawk King said. After eating the meat soup, he was much less wary of Du Xiaofu. He also felt that this ferocious human did not have any ill intentions towards them. In fact, he had indirectly helped them greatly. Then, Du Xiaofu learned some things from Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. These ancient demonic beast remnants had been trapped in the god domain and were unable to take half a step out. It was rumored that they would only have a chance of survival if they broke through to the realm domain and Nirvana realm. However, they were unable to break through to the realm domain and Nirvana realm. In the end, they could only wait in the god domain until their vitality ran out and they died, unable to advance any further. Over the years, some of the ancient demonic beast remnants had reached the peak of the great domain realm and sought a chance of survival in order to break through. However, many of them who had forcefully broken through met with misfortune in the end without exception. There were also ancient demonic beast remnants who hoped to seek opportunities and fight for survival in some of the dangerous places in this space. However, in the end, their spirits were destroyed and they perished. Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King were both outstanding figures among the ancient demonic beast remnants. They were Nirvana realm sovereigns and were naturally unwilling to resign themselves to death. They did not retreat and also attempted to break through by force. However, in the end, they still failed. Fortunately, they managed to survive in the end. However, their strength was also greatly reduced due to their heavy injuries. The reason we're guarding this place is because of a legend left behind by an expert in the past. It said that there's a great opportunity in this dangerous place. There's a chance that we can recover from the serious injuries we suffered when we forcefully broke through. Perhaps we can even unlock the secret of this space that's suppressing us from breaking through to the domain realm and Nirvana realm. Mia Meng King did not hide anything from Du Xiaofu and revealed many secrets. He said, "Nightmare Dragon King came to find us because we are guarding this place. He wants to pry into the secrets within and obtain the opportunities within. If you have a chance to recover, why not look for it?" Du Xiaofu's eyes glowed as he asked Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. "It is too dangerous. That is a place of great danger. All living beings enter but never come out. Even when we were at our peak, we did not dare to enter, let alone now." Thunderhawk King smiled bitterly. A few months ago, there was an extraordinary human expert who was unparalleled in strength. Thunderhawk King and I joined forces but could not stop him. He barged in, but in the end, he was chased by a group of divine soul-devouring ants. Mia Meng King said. "Divine soul-devouring ants. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and immediately asked Mia Meng King and Thunderhawk King, did that fellow bring 8 maidservants with him? He was dressed in a white battle robe and looked pleasing to the eye. That's right. That fellow was also a Nirvana realm sovereign. Mia Meng King nodded in surprise. It was the successor of the Great Snow Mountain, Lian Qingrong. Mo Tianxiao said. Du Xiaofu nodded. He was sure that it was Lian Qingrong. So, it was here that Lian Qingrong was chased by a group of divine soul devouring ants. That place should not be simple. Du Xiaofu pondered in his heart. Such an incomparably dangerous place was known as a place of great danger. A group of divine soul devouring ants occupied it, and it was sufficient to show how dangerous it was. However, it was also likely that it truly contained an enormous fortune. How about we make a deal? After pondering for a moment, Du Xiaofu looked at Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King and said. I said that I would try my best to make up for it yesterday morning. In the end, I delayed it and made it 7 to express my apology. It is almost 7 in the morning and I am too sleepy. Today's update should start at night. Brothers, don't wait for the update in the morning. Chapter 17:10. What kind of deal? Mia Meng King and Thunderhawk King looked at Du Xiaofu with some surprise. It seemed that there was nothing good to do with this savage human. I plan to take a look at that place of great danger. If I can find an opportunity to heal your injuries, you can follow me for 100 years. If I can't find any opportunity to heal your injuries, then forget about it. Du Xiaofu said to Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King seriously. Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King were both Nirvana sovereigns. 1,000 years ago, they had even suppressed Nightmare Dragon King. With Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King's talent and strength, as well as the fact that they controlled many ancient demonic beast species in the divine domain, Du Xiaofu had the intention of subduing them. 100 years was just a casual remark from Du Xiaofu. Even if Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King really only followed him for 100 years, it would be enough. The Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King looked at each other. If it was under normal circumstances, they would naturally refuse without the slightest hesitation. As powerful as they were, how could they be willing to submit to a human as they were the kings of the demonic beasts in the divine domain? However, the current situation was different. If their injuries could not be healed and they could not make any more breakthroughs and step into the Nirvana realm, they would meet their end sooner or later. In addition, they had long heard rumors that this would be the last time the divine domain was opened. When the time came, they did not know what would happen to them. This is too difficult. That is a place of great danger. Living beings who enter have never come out. No living being has ever been able to come out. Thunderhawk King shook his head and sighed helplessly. For the sake of Nightmare Dragon King's roasted meat and treasure soup, he did not hide it from Du Xiaofu. To tell you the truth, during this period of time, we have purposely spread the news in hopes of attracting more people to enter the great slaughtering grounds. Quite a number of people have already entered and I reckon that they have all met their end. No one will be able to come out alive. Mia Meng King said to Du Xiaofu. This was the last time the divine domain was opened, and they didn't have much time left. They had to understand the place of great danger as soon as possible, so they purposely leaked the news and exaggerated it, attracting many people to enter. They wanted to take the opportunity to test the waters and see if anyone would be able to obtain anything. However, the result was as expected. No one could escape. You guys are really cunning. Du Xiaofu King and Mia Meng King and Thunderhawk King. They were purposely trying to trick people into entering the place of great danger. They could just wait. Behind them would be the fishermen. The mantis stalked the cicada, the oriole is the auric. I learned this from you, Mia Meng King said to Du Xiaofu impolitely. Are you sure you want to enter the place of great danger? Mo Tianxiao looked at Du Xiaofu and asked. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's good to go and take a look. Du Xiaofu nodded. He had already reached the pinnacle of the nirvana stage of true self. If he wanted to go further, he would have to look for opportunities. There was already a change in the divine domain. Many experts from the outside world had already entered, and cultivators below the great domain realm were no longer suppressed by the divine domain. If, in the near future, experts of the domain realm or even higher could enter the divine domain, Du Xiaofu would have to guard against the dragons, school of vertical and horizontal, and legalism. Du Xiaofu knew better than anyone what kind of situation he would be in if he were to face the likes of Moksha. However, if legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons of the domain realm or even higher were to enter the divine domain, he knew better than anyone what kind of situation he would be in. Therefore, Du Xiaofu had heard that there were opportunities in the place of great danger. He guessed that the more dangerous the place was, the more likely the rewards would be. He had to improve as soon as possible in order to face everything that was to come. It was necessary to look for opportunities appropriately. Moreover, the entire space of the divine realm had changed. Du Xiaofu guessed that there might have been a change in the Great Calamity Grounds as well. Within the Great Calamity Grounds, there might be life. That life might have always existed, but no one could find it. After nodding to Mo Tianxiao, Du Xiaofu looked at Thunderhawk King and Miameng King and said, "Let's get back to the topic. I'm going to enter the place of great danger. What if I find the opportunity that you want and can help you recover from your injuries?" Thunderhawk King and Miameng King exchanged glances, and finally looked at Du Xiaofu at the same time. Thunderhawk King clenched his teeth and said to Du Xiaofu, "If you can really help us recover from our injuries, we'll do as you said and follow you for 100 years. All right, a gentleman keeps his word. It's settled then." Du Xiaofu smiled. Even without Thunderhawk King and Miameng King, he still planned to enter the place of great danger. Du Xiaofu could help Thunderhawk King and Miameng search for what they wanted. If he could succeed and make these two beasts serve him for 100 years, they would definitely be a great help. Anyway, this is the last time the divine domain will be opened. The future is boundless. If we can't improve, we don't know where our path will be. Will the beasts in the entire space still have a chance to survive? If you want to enter the place of great danger, we'll go with you. We've explored some of the outer regions before. At least we'll be of some use. Miameng King said to Du Xiaofu. They had also decided to enter the place of great danger. All right. Du Xiaofu nodded. Naturally, he wouldn't reject. With Miameng King and Thunderhawk King by his side, it would undoubtedly be more convenient to familiarize himself with the place. I'll go too. Mo Tianxiao said softly. His eyes were as calm as the calm waves on his angular face. I agree. Du Xiaofu smiled at Mo Tianxiao. Master, we want to go too. Yun Mu, Dang Hu, and the others also wanted to go in. You guys don't have to go. Stay here. At the same time, keep the person I'm looking for. Du Xiaofu said to Yun Mu and the others. The aura of great danger wasn't better with more people. If one's strength wasn't enough, it would be harmful instead. When are we going in? Thunderhawk King asked. I'll make some preparations first. There's no time to lose. Let's go tomorrow morning. Du Xiaofu said as he looked at the sky that was already setting. The setting sun dyed the western mountains with the sunset glow, enveloping the vast mountain range with radiance. Bzzz, in this strange mountain range, there were lightning flashes shuttling through the air from time to time, emitting electric arcs. Du Xiaofu learned from Thunderhawk King that there used to be a lightning treasure in this place. Therefore, this place was special. The Thunderhawk King was the true form of a thunderhawk, and he cultivated the profundity of lightning. Thus, this place became his cultivation paradise. In addition to the fact that the land of great danger was not far away, this place later became his and King Miameng's base. On the mountain peak that appeared to be quite messy, the surroundings were razed to the ground by the previous battle. After Du Xiaofu casually set up a restriction on the huge shattered rocks, he sat down cross-legged and began to close his eyes and breathe. Du Xiaofu did not stand on ceremony with the large amount of supreme sea serpent meat and supreme sea serpent soup. He devoured a lot of it, and with the help of the golden-winged great rock, he was able to fully absorb the energy contained in the supreme sea serpent meat and supreme sea serpent soup. The energy contained in the Mirage Dragon meat and soup at the Nirvana realm, as well as the entire Mirage Dragon, was no small matter, even for Du Xiaofu. He could even extract a lot of Dragon Clan beast energy from the soup and the sea serpent's flesh. It could be said that ordinary demonic beasts would definitely be reborn if they could eat a few mouthfuls of the Supreme Mirage Dragon meat and drink a few mouthfuls of the Supreme Mirage Dragon soup. However, the Nirvana realm Mirage Dragon meat and soup couldn't be eaten by just any demonic beast or human. The enormous energy contained in the Mirage Dragon meat could completely crush those who weren't strong enough. Walala, a moment later, a golden light rippled around Du Xiaofu's body. It was as though a golden light barrier had covered his surroundings. It emitted an incomparably overbearing aura, causing some of the ancient demonic beast descendants in the distance to not dare to approach. Everything in the world is constantly changing. The true self is not the true self. Nirvana is the emptiness of everything. At the same time, Du Xiaofu murmured softly as he breathed and adjusted his breathing, sinking into a certain state. Chapter 1711. At the Nirvana realm of true self, Du Xiaofu had never stopped comprehending. He deduced various profundities, comprehended various ascetic practices, and focused on comprehending in order to improve further. A few days ago, Du Xiaofu had humbly asked for advice from Mo Tianxiao. He had been enlightened and comprehended meticulously. Impermanence in all actions, non-self in all laws, nirvana silence, true self-liberation. After a while, Du Xiaofu was completely immersed in it. Combining the comprehensions he had gained from the previous battle and comprehending his profundities, he began to sink into the sea of comprehension. This time, he was going to enter the land of great danger that the Thunderhawk King and the others had mentioned. Even the divine soul-devouring ant that had chased after Lien Qingrong had come from there. Du Xiaofu had no choice but to be fully prepared. Therefore, Du Xiaofu decided to delay for a night and refine the flesh and blood of the Hui Dragon King first. The more preparation he had, the safer he would be when the time came. The sky gradually darkened, and the stars twinkled. Electric arcs rippled in the air. The rippling golden electric arcs around Du Xiaofu were extremely eye-catching. Yun Mu and Dang Hu sat cross-legged around him, guarding Du Xiaofu. Do you think that Du Xiaofu will have a chance of succeeding this time? No living being has ever come out from that place. There are only those who enter, but never come out. On a distant mountain peak, the Thunderhawk King and Miameng King gazed at the land of flickering golden symbols. Their eyes flickered. That Du Xiaofu is extraordinary. Mo Tianxiao also has the bloodline of a Nirvana realm heavenly wolf. Even the Hui dragon was killed. Perhaps they really do have a chance. The Thunderhawk King's eyes were suffused with a faint light of lightning as he lightly said, "We already have no other choice. The space of the divine dominion is already opening for the last time. At that time, will all the beast men, including us, be forever sealed within this space without the slightest chance of leaving? Or if the space of the divine dominion collapses, then we'll dissipate along with it and transform into nothingness. This is our last chance. Something has changed in the divine domain. Hopefully, something has changed in the slaughtering grounds as well. There will be a chance for us to get what we want. If that human really helps us, do we really have to follow him for 100 years? Moments later, Mia Meng looked at Thunderhawk King with ripples in his eyes. He's absolutely not simple. If he's really able to help all of you obtain what you desire, then it's the will of the heavens. Following him for 100 years isn't a long time, and it's better than being trapped in this space. The Thunderhawk King muttered lightly after pondering for a moment. In the distance, on a mountain peak, Sky Wolf sat cross-legged. His eyes shone with a green light in the night sky. He glanced in the direction of Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King from afar. Then, he closed his eyes again and began to refine the energy of Hui Dragon King's flesh and blood. At the same time, he was comprehending everything he had learned in the Supreme Tomb. Time passed slowly. The next morning, when the sky was already bright, Heavenly Wolf, Lonely Sky Howl, Thunderhawk King, Mia Meng King, and the others all made their preparations to enter the Great Danger Zone. However, at this moment, the golden radiance on Du Xiaofu's body was still fluctuating resplendently. His entire body was shrouded in the radiance of golden talisman runes. However, at this moment, within the golden radiance around Du Xiaofu's body, there were purple lightning overflowing, and there were strange and ancient runes jumping about. Everything was strangely connected to the space of the divine domain, and it was suffused with a feeling of exuberant vitality. He seems to have entered a state of comprehension. It's time. Should we wake him up? Thunderhawk King spoke. They were going to enter the Great Danger Zone today, and he had already made his preparations. However, when everyone looked at Du Xiaofu's appearance, he seemed to have forgotten about the matter of entering the Great Danger Zone today. He was already in a state of comprehension. This kind of state of comprehension could take a long time. It would take 3 to 5 years. To Thunderhawk King and the others, it wouldn't be strange for them to spend dozens of years in this state of comprehension. Therefore, they were afraid that Du Xiaofu would be delayed. No one is allowed to disturb him. Heavenly Wolf immediately spoke to Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King as he looked at the purple lightning, ancient runes, and the fluctuations of golden talisman runes that shrouded Du Xiaofu's body. His gaze faintly carried a sense of warning. Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King were helpless and could only continue to wait. Under Heavenly Wolf's instructions, Yunmu, Dang Hu, and the others even protected him with all their might. No living beings were allowed to enter within a 3 kilometers radius. While Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King were slightly surprised and helpless as they waited, time quietly flowed like sand. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. As time passed, Du Xiaofu was still sitting cross-legged like an old monk in meditation, and he was still in a state of comprehension. Du Xiaofu was completely unaware of everything that was happening around him. However, the golden talisman runes, ancient runes, and purple lightning around him became more and more resplendent, as if they were one with the surrounding space. When will he awaken? There's not much time left in the divine domain. Thunderhawk King was a little worried. The divine domain had already opened for a long time, and the sovereign tomb had already opened. Once the divine domain opened, it would completely end. At that time, they wouldn't have any more chances. Mia Meng King looked at the man who was sitting cross-legged in the distance and was enveloped by several resplendent lights. A trace of sorrow flashed across his eyes as he helplessly sighed. Boom! Suddenly, the surrounding space trembled. This spatial tremor was very faint, but with Mia Meng King and Thunderhawk King's cultivation, they naturally wouldn't be mistaken. TSK, almost at the same time, Mo Tianxiao's eyes were suffused with a green light as he stared at Du Xiaofu. Boom! In a short period of time, another tremor resounded in the sky. It's from Du Xiaofu's body. This time, the Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King immediately discovered the source of the spatial tremors. Their gazes instantly fell on Du Xiaofu at the same time. Roar! This spatial tremor also attracted the attention of the surrounding ancient demonic beasts. They roared for no reason as shadows of beasts appeared one after another. When the beasts sensed the spatial fluctuations, pairs of beast eyes looked towards Du Xiaofu in unison. They seemed to have sensed that a peerless ferocious bird that was in a deep slumber was slowly awakening at this moment. What's going on? Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King immediately sensed that the commotion was extremely abnormal. They probed with their minds, and it wasn't difficult for them to detect that the aura rippling from Du Xiaofu's body was extremely powerful and strange. Unconcealable astonishment flashed across their eyes. In an instant, the entire lightning luster mountain range started to become restless, as dense beastly roars continued to ring out. Mo Tianxiao looked at Du Xiaofu as his brows twitched. Suddenly, he said to Yunmu and Dang Hu, "Retreat, quickly retreat." Whoosh whoosh, Yunmu and Dang Hu didn't doubt Skywolf Mo Tianxiao's words and immediately retreated. They also sensed that there was an oppressive aura brewing around Du Xiaofu's body. If it were to erupt, it would definitely be terrifying. Boom, just as Yunmu, Dang Hu, and the others retreated explosively, golden talisman markings, purple lightning, and strange ancient talisman markings shot out from the depths of Du Xiaofu's body like an erupting volcano. Du Xiaofu's clothes fluttered as various talisman runes that were shockingly resplendent soared into the sky. In the end, under the astonished gazes of the surrounding beasts, the ancient runes around Du Xiaofu's body condensed and transformed into an enormous 8 trigrams diagram in the sky. The golden talisman runes and the purple lightning runes fused together and condensed into an enormous purple-gold thunder rock. Inside the 8 trigrams diagram, energy fluctuations rose and fell like an ocean. Strange phenomena filled the sky as dazzling runes of various colors surged in all directions. At the center of the 8 trigrams diagram, the purple-gold thunder rock spread its wings. An incomparably tyrannical aura began to seep out from the 8 trigrams diagram. Purple-gold light burst out from the 8 trigrams diagram, as if a sun was about to rise in this ancient space. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, the violet gold thunder rock's dazzling violet gold lightning shot out into the sky as if it was flapping its wings and soaring into the sky. Its ferocious might covered the sky and spread out, causing the entire ancient space to tremble. When all these strange phenomena appeared, the terrifying pressure caused the surrounding ancient demonic beasts to tremble in fear. Boom! Behind Du Xiaofu, 9 divine rings appeared in the sky, exuding an oppressive aura. At this moment, from the depths of the sky above this ancient space, an enormous energy beam descended like a god from beyond the heavens. It pierced through the void and finally landed around Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged on a rock. The divine light enveloped Du Xiaofu, crossing space and time. When it shone on Du Xiaofu's body, the 8 trigrams diagram around Du Xiaofu suddenly erupted with a dazzling light. In an instant, within the 8 trigrams diagram, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning descended. Mountains, swamps, and the earth moved. Boom! An incomparably vigorous and tyrannical aura swept out from Du Xiaofu's body like a hurricane. In a short instant, Du Xiaofu's body stood up and stepped into the center of the 8 trigrams diagram, connecting it to the surroundings. A vigorous and tyrannical aura howled endlessly. Nirvana liberation. At this moment, Mo Tianxiao raised his head slightly and looked at the purple-robed man in the center of the 8 trigrams diagram. His green eyes twitched violently, and he seemed to be a little stunned. A moment later, he came back to his senses and sucked in a breath of cold air. Chapter 17:12. At the center of the 8 trigrams, the purple-gold thunder rock was entrenched in the sky. Vast and mighty heavenly might filled the ancient space. The flashing lightning arcs in the surrounding space were all devoured. What a terrifying aura! Under such pressure, even the expressions of the Thunderhawk King and the Miameng King changed at this moment. They felt a heavenly might that was difficult to endure. At this moment, the other ancient demonic beasts around the mountain range had already prostrated themselves on the ground. How can the Nirvana realm be so strong? He's obviously stronger than Sirius. The Thunderhawk King quietly said with a trembling voice. He had sensed the frightening aura of the heavenly wolf before. However, at this moment, he sensed the aura of Du Xiaofu's breakthrough. Just how frightening was that? It was definitely much more powerful and frightening than the heavenly wolf lonely sky howl. He actually broke through to the Nirvana realm. This is unbelievable. How old is this human? Mia Meng King couldn't help but feel shocked. It was too unbelievable. He knew that Du Xiaofu was a young man, but he had already reached the Nirvana realm. Mia Meng King could be considered to be experienced and knowledgeable in the divine domain. He had experienced the opening of the divine domain several times and had seen the geniuses and sovereigns of the outside world. But at this moment, looking at the purple-robed man in the 8 trigrams, he still found it hard to believe. Roar, the terrifying heavenly might filled the sky, causing the surrounding to roar. A large group of ancient demonic beasts prostrated themselves in reverence. The huge purple-gold thunder rock was like a living creature, filled with the domineering and terrifying aura of a peerless ferocious bird. The heavenly might from the 8 trigrams was even more shocking. Stepping into the Nirvana realm, Sirius Mo Tianxiao was somewhat helpless at this moment. His green eyes were filled with unconcealable shock. Mo Tianxiao was definitely extraordinary. His talent was outstanding, and he had his own pride. The pure blood of Sirius flowed in his body. Mo Tianxiao had never lowered his head even when facing the dragons and phoenixes, let alone a human. However, ever since he had met the purple-robed man, Mo Tianxiao knew that the pride and arrogance that he had always been proud of in his heart was not even worth mentioning in front of that fellow. Too abnormal. Mo Tianxiao sighed helplessly. After a long time, he bitterly smiled and muttered to himself, his heart somewhat complicated. However, Mo Tianxiao was even more shocked. The more he interacted with him, the more he realized in his heart just how monstrous that fellow was. Originally, when Mo Tianxiao had agreed to follow him for 100 years, he had thought that perhaps it wouldn't be long before he could prepare to break through to Nirvana realm as soon as he left the divine domain. At that time, everything would reverse. After his miraculous breakthrough, Mo Tianxiao felt somewhat hesitant. He secretly felt that Du Xiaofu would not be easy to deal with. At this moment, Mo Tianxiao was very clear in his heart that if that guy continued to break through at such a terrifying speed, the gap between them would only grow wider and wider. How could he possibly catch up to that abnormal guy? In midair, Du Xiaofu and the purple-gold thunder rock were connected to each other on the 8 trigrams diagram. Bathed in the baptism of the energy of heaven and earth, his aura was rising. His liberation seems to be a little special. Mo Tianxiao looked into the distance in shock. As he looked at the strange diagram and the purple-gold thunder rock, he felt a vast might. It was not difficult to see that Du Xiaofu was using the strange diagram and the purple-gold thunder rock to break through to Nirvana realm. Generally speaking, it was already good enough to step into Nirvana realm after comprehending one's true self through one's profound meaning. However, at this moment, Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao clearly felt that the strange diagram and the purple-gold thunder rock contained several terrifying auras. The surrounding ancient demonic beasts roared and crawled. Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, and King Mia Meng were shocked. However, this did not last for long. The 8 trigrams in the sky slowly dissipated along with the purple-gold thunder rock. The strange phenomenon dissipated with the wind and finally completely calmed down. As the strange phenomenon dissipated, the electric arcs that flashed in the air of the entire mountain range also disappeared. However, as the strange phenomenon disappeared, the purple-robed man in the sky became clearer and clearer. He appeared in the eyes of Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, and King Mia Meng. Du Xiaofu quietly stood in midair with his eyes closed. Chi, suddenly, his tightly shut eyes opened. The light in his eyes flickered with a dazzling light, as if it had materialized and shot into the sky. At this moment, his eyes seemed to contain 2 8 trigrams, with a purple-gold thunder rock entrenched in the middle. Rumble, a terrifying aura swept out from Du Xiaofu's body at this moment. It was like a hurricane that whistled through the sky, causing the entire space to tremble violently. What a powerful aura! Feeling that aura, Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao couldn't help but tremble. Huff huff, the aura retracted and disappeared in a flash. Accompanied by a mouthful of turbid air being spat out from his throat, Du Xiaofu's bones and joints emitted a clear cracking sound. The sound was sonorous as it entered his ears. On his exposed skin, one could faintly see that it was becoming more and more crystal clear, suffused with a purple-gold color. Peering inside his mind, Du Xiaofu slightly closed his eyes. He could feel that the primordial spirit in his mind's Naiwan palace and the vast profound energy in his body had once again expanded, like a vast ocean boiling. Is this the strength of the Nirvana realm? Du Xiaofu opened his eyes once again, and fluctuations appeared in his eyes. What shocked Du Xiaofu even more was that after stepping into the Nirvana realm, the movements of the various profound energies in his body had increased by another level. At this moment, Du Xiaofu had a feeling that with just a raise of his hand, he could directly blast apart an ordinary cultivator of the Great Domain realm and a cultivator of the Nirvana realm. Swish, Du Xiaofu waved his hand and clenched it, causing the surrounding space to tremble, as if the surrounding space could be forcefully crushed and exploded. He was able to control a large area of space with just a wave of his hand, and the living beings in the surrounding space would probably be crushed into a bloody paste. This kind of power seemed to be related to domains, forming a domain of one's own. However, Du Xiaofu knew that he was walking another path that very few people had taken, and he was continuing to reach Nirvana realm. Du Xiaofu was very clear that with his current Nirvana realm cultivation, once he activated the 8 trigrams diagram, the surrounding space would be under his control, and he should be much stronger than ordinary domain experts. Is this the feeling of power? Du Xiaofu clenched his fist slightly, and his heart trembled. Because he knew that he had always been facing such a huge monster like legalism, Du Xiaofu had never felt such a feeling of power in any of his previous breakthroughs. When facing such a huge monster like legalism, the power of his previous breakthroughs could not be considered as power. However, now that he had stepped into the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu finally felt this feeling of being filled with power. Countless creatures pursued the Nirvana realm for their entire lives, but there were only a few who could step into it in this world. However, Du Xiaofu did not think that he would be able to contend against legalism at the Nirvana realm. If he wanted to truly contend against legalism at the Nirvana realm, it was still far from enough. It could only be said that this kind of power had made him stronger. Back in Stone City, Du Xiaofu had never thought that he would be able to reach such a level, but now he had done it. It's still not enough. Du Xiaofu muttered softly. Legalism, dragons, school of vertical and horizontal, and the devil religion. His current strength was still not enough. After a while, Du Xiaofu's figure landed. Master. Yunmu, Donghu, and the others had already gathered around. You broke through. Mo Tianxiao stepped forward and sized up Du Xiaofu from head to toe, and realized that his question was a little unnecessary. Yes, I have to thank you. Du Xiaofu smiled at Mo Tianxiao. It was indeed because of Mo Tianxiao's enlightenment that he was able to break through so quickly. However, these words of Du Xiaofu caused Mo Tianxiao to feel an inexplicable sadness in his heart. He did not say anything and quietly stood by the side. It's good that you've broken through. We have more confidence in entering the great danger ground. The Thunderhawk King said with a smile. At this moment, he looked at Du Xiaofu as though he was looking at a monster, and his heart was surging with emotions. Then let's prepare to enter the great danger ground. Du Xiaofu said with a smile. Originally, he wanted to make sufficient preparations to enter the great danger ground. Now that he had broken through to the Nirvana realm, although it was delayed by a few days, there was no doubt that he had more assurance. Master, the people you asked me to look for have made some discoveries. At this moment, Yunmu opened his mouth and said to Du Xiaofu, not far ahead, my people have discovered some humans. They seem to be people of legalism. Chapter 1713. Legalism people. Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed with undisguised coldness when he heard this. There were strange lightning plants everywhere in the mountains, flashing with electric arcs. A group of dozens of people was on high alert, shuttling through the mountains. The leader was an old man, whose eyes were shining with divine light and his aura was very powerful. There were a few experts beside the old man, but the aura of those following behind was obviously much weaker. Be careful, there are many ancient demonic beast descendants here. The old man in the lead warned the people beside him. Elder, some of these ancient demonic beast descendants have extraordinary bloodlines. It would be good if we could capture some of their young. Our beast forest was destroyed by the old golden-winged great pengbird clan and that little bastard, so we need to replenish our demonic beasts. A middle-aged man said with hatred in his eyes. Legalism had never suffered such humiliation since ancient times, so legalism had always been secretly mocked and ridiculed by the world. These ancient demonic beast descendants can't be brought out. There were people who wanted to bring them out, but they were punished by the space of the divine domain and their spirits were destroyed. There were also people who used spatial treasures, but they couldn't hide from the space of the divine domain. These ancient demonic beast descendants can't be brought out. The leading old man's eyes moved. How could he not be interested? He also wanted to capture some primordial beast offspring and bring them back to the school of legalism. The school of legalism had already lost a great number of beasts in their forest and urgently needed replenishment. Some of these primordial beast offspring had extremely powerful bloodlines. Once they grew up, they would be extremely terrifying. Unfortunately, these ancient demonic beast descendants couldn't be touched by the outside world. What a pity. Hearing this, some legalism people felt that it was a pity. There were so many ancient demonic beast descendants, and they could see some young ancient demonic beast descendants with powerful bloodlines, but they couldn't bring them out. This will be the last time the space of the divine domain opens. When the time comes, where will these ancient demonic beast descendants go? Will they disappear with the space of the divine domain? A young man was puzzled. Rumor has it that these ancient demonic beasts will only have a chance to leave if they break through to the domain realm or the nirvana realm, said an old man to dispel the young man's doubts. Be careful. These ancient demonic beast descendants are not easy to deal with. Demonic beast descendants below the beast domain realm do not possess any intelligence. Some of the kings of the ancient demonic beast descendants are quite powerful. If you encounter them, it will be a great battle. Be careful and do your best to find that little bastard's whereabouts, said the leading old man. The heavens really have eyes. That little bastard actually didn't enter the Supreme Being tomb, missing out on the greatest opportunity. This is truly retribution. A middle-aged man spoke. He was inexplicably overjoyed, as if he had vented his anger. Chi-La, suddenly, a bolt of energy shot down from the sky like a bolt of lightning. Before the middle-aged man could finish his words, his body had already been smashed into meat paste by the bolt of energy. He didn't even have the chance to react. Be careful. The expression of the old man in the lead changed greatly. His aura surged, and mysterious talisman markings suffused and enveloped his entire body. The expressions of the several people around him were already greatly shocked. Some of them wore armor to protect their bodies, and some of them held treasures. They immediately stood with their backs against each other, and their expressions changed greatly. They were ready to fight. Roar! In an instant, a large number of ferocious demonic beasts roared out from the surrounding mountains. The earth quaked and the mountains shook as a ferocious aura swept out. There were ferocious birds flapping their wings in the sky, bringing with them a storm that engulfed the void. Not good, we have encountered a beast tide of ancient demonic beast descendants. Why are there so many ancient demonic beast descendants? The dozen people's expressions changed drastically. The densely packed beast tide was ferocious. They had never encountered so many demonic beasts ever since they entered the divine domain. Quickly kill our way out. We have to retreat. Otherwise, we will be in big trouble. The leading old man of the legalism group was also shocked when he saw such a terrifying beast tide. There would definitely be ancient demonic beast kings present. It would be extremely difficult to deal with them. Didn't you come to find me? Why are you running away when we haven't even met? A faint voice sounded as over 100 figures appeared in the void ahead. In the lead were Du Xiaofu, Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, Mia Meng King, Yun Zhan, Dang Hu, and the others. Behind them were many ancient demonic beast kings who had revealed their true forms. There were several ancient demonic beast kings who were at the Great Domain Realm. The rest were Sealed Domain Realm and Initial Domain Realm demonic beast kings. So many ancient demonic beast kings. The ferocious aura of the ancient demonic beast kings was enough to make the dozen or so people of the legalism group turn pale. They had scattered to look for Du Xiaofu. How could they have expected to encounter so many ancient demonic beast kings? Du Xiaofu, it's him. Some of the people from the school of legalism recognized Du Xiaofu as soon as possible. In a single moment, their faces all changed drastically. There's only so few of you. Du Xiaofu hovered in the air, looking at the dozen or so people of the legalism group. Only a few of them were from the legalism group, while the rest were likely followers of legalism. Du Xiaofu's gaze fell on the leading old man. He had seen him in the legalism group, and Du Xiaofu could not forget him. This was an elder of the legalism group, and his cultivation was close to the peak of the Great Domain Realm. Swish! There was no need for words. Du Xiaofu attacked, his figure shooting toward the leading old man. Little bastard, the God Domain space is no longer suppressed. It's not your turn to act recklessly. The leading old man clenched his teeth. Relying on his cultivation, which was close to the peak of the Great Domain Realm, he slashed out with his sword. Boundless sword energy swept through the air, sweeping toward Du Xiaofu. Is this all you've got? Du Xiaofu waved his sleeve, causing the void to tremble as all the sword energy was repelled. Kill! The old man shouted. He changed his sword art, and the sword hilt flew out of his hand. Runes erupted, turning into a shocking sword that pierced through the void and shot directly toward Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu was fearless. His figure paused for a moment, and with a wave of his hand, he stretched out his index and middle finger, gently catching the sword that pierced through the void between his fingers. Buzz! The sword hissed like a thunderstorm, erupting with dazzling runes. However, at this moment, it was caught between Du Xiaofu's fingers, unable to break free or move at all. At this moment, the leading old man's expression changed. At the same time, runes that blotted out the sky and covered the earth rushed out, converging into a grand momentum. Boom! The legalism Dharma momentum was activated, and the leading old man activated his meridian spirit, which was a giant bear. He also activated his extraordinary martial vein, which seemed to have turned into a huge void vortex, erupting with a terrifying pressure, forming a terrifying force that distorted the void. With a vast momentum, it crushed toward Du Xiaofu. Rumble, as such a grand momentum swept down, heaven and earth trembled, and a large area of the void collapsed. Strange phenomena appeared in the sky, and the roars of beasts were like thunder. It was as if there was destruction. Qi La, under the expectant gazes of all the legalism disciples, the terrifying grand momentum instantly enveloped and crushed Du Xiaofu. Unfortunately, the terrifying aura that enveloped Du Xiaofu and caused all sorts of phenomena to appear in the sky were forcefully stopped a few meters away from Du Xiaofu. The vast momentum collapsed and enveloped Du Xiaofu's figure, but he was unshakable like a boulder. Holding the sword with his fingers, he looked forward and waved his sleeve indifferently. Break! In an instant, the leading old man, who was almost at the peak of the greater domain realm, and the legalism Dharma momentum immediately trembled. Then, under the trembling and horrified gazes of the legalism disciples, the void directly collapsed inch by inch like fireworks. In the end, everything turned into nothingness. The leading old man of the legalism disciples vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His face was as pale as ash, and his eyes were filled with horror. A purple figure had already crossed the void and arrived in front of him. Du Xiaofu stretched out his hand, and runes erupted. Divine light filled the sky and directly imprisoned him in the void. The claw also grabbed the top of the legalism elder's head. Ah! In an instant, the leading old man screamed in pain. He felt a stabbing pain in his head. He realized that Du Xiaofu was searching his primordial spirit in his Naiwan palace, but he was powerless to stop it. Kill! At the same time, Yunmu, Dang Hu, and the others had already led the crowd to kill, and a vast momentum swept toward the remaining legalism disciples. In an instant, the energy collided and roared like thunder. However, it didn't take long for these legalism disciples to be dealt with by Yunmu, Dang Hu, and the other monster kings. Some of the legalism disciples wanted to self-destruct, but the Thunder Eagle King and Miameng King interfered and easily destroyed them. After a moment, Du Xiaofu withdrew the claw from the head of the legalism elder and wiped away the imprint on the treasured sword in his hand before putting it into his spatial pouch. Grand Domain Realm, it's not bad to refine into a puppet. As his voice fell, Du Xiaofu was somewhat reluctant, but he didn't have the time to refine it. With a wave of his hand, a hole gushed out from the forehead of the legalism elder, and his soul was extinguished. His physical body was thrown to Yunmu, who had transformed into his true form and devoured it in one gulp. He would be able to absorb a lot of benefits. The leading legalism elder only knew how Qin Wudi had been defeated when he died. In this short period of time, the Demon King was no longer the same as before. At this moment, he was already so powerful. Want to find me? Take your time. From the primordial spirit of the legalism elder, Du Xiaofu found out that legalism had entered the divine domain. Many Grand Domain Realm cultivators were searching for his whereabouts, wanting to join forces with the school of vertical and horizontal, the dragons, and the others to deal with him. After another breakthrough in stepping into the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu wasn't worried about legalism, the dragons, and the school of vertical and horizontal since he was still in the divine domain. However, Du Xiaofu also knew that legalism, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the dragons probably hated him to the core. Once the divine domain was closed and he left, he would suffer the desperate revenge of legalism, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the dragons. Although he had the Golden-Winged Rock clan as his backing, and he also had the help of the school of Yin-Yang, the school of Moism, and the school of agriculture, this wasn't what Du Xiaofu wanted. His own strength was true strength. My strength is still not enough. I still need to improve further. Although he had just stepped into the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu wanted to enter the ominous grounds even more. Who knows, he might be able to obtain something. Even if he couldn't obtain any great opportunities, tempering himself in dangerous situations would allow him to break through faster. Thunderhawk King, Miameng King, can you do me a favor? Du Xiaofu said to Thunderhawk King and Miameng King. Speak. Thunderhawk King and Miameng King nodded. Everyone was now in the same boat. As long as they could do it, they naturally wouldn't refuse. Chapter 17:14. After we enter the ominous grounds, your men will help me deal with some forces that I want to kill. Yes. Du Xiaofu said to Thunder Eagle King and Miameng King. Although he wasn't afraid of legalism, dragons, and the others, the desolate country in the others were still in the divine domain. If they encountered legalism, they would be suppressed. Second brother Du Yunlong, Yi Piaoling, and the others had already entered the supreme tomb. Since the divine domain was no longer suppressed, the desolate country was suppressed. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but worry. No problem. Yes. Thunder Eagle King and Miameng King naturally didn't have any problems with this small matter. They nodded in agreement. After that, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but ask Yunmu, Donghu, and the other ancient demonic beast kings to take care of the legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. As for the desolate country, school of Yin Yang, school of Mo, and school of agriculture, he had to ask them before making a move. He didn't want to hurt the innocent. After instructing Yun Mu and the others, Du Xiaofu was satisfied and headed towards the ominous grounds with Thunder Eagle King, Mia Meng King, and Sky Wolf. As for the demonic beast kings, even if they followed Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King, they had a good impression of Du Xiaofu after eating the sea serpent meat and drinking the sea serpent soup. After sensing the aura of the real golden-winged great pine on Du Xiaofu, they didn't treat Du Xiaofu as a human. Naturally, they were happy to help. Following Yun Mu, Dong Hu, and the others, they started to get busy. Then, a shocking scene appeared in the space of the divine domain. A group of ancient demonic beast kings were searching for the legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. They didn't offend the desolate country, school of Mo, and school of agriculture. It must be that little bastard Du Xiaofu. He must be the one who controlled those ancient demonic beast descendants. Damn it. Humph. The experts of legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons shouted angrily. The strength of the kings of the ancient demonic beasts was not below theirs. In addition to the terrifying beast tide, they did not dare to fight back. They could only hide everywhere. Furthermore, this divine domain was the territory of these ancient demonic beasts. No matter how they tried to hide, they were still hunted down. Meanwhile, the instigator, Du Xiaofu, had already followed the Thunderhawk King and King Annihilation to appear outside a bottomless gorge with the Skywolf Lonely Sky Howl. There were many ancient demonic beasts at the entrance of the canyon. They were all under the command of the Thunderhawk King and the Mia Meng King. Naturally, they did not affect Du Xiaofu at all. Instead, they led the way and passed through many dangerous areas outside the deep canyon. Inside the canyon, white bones were everywhere, emitting an eerie glow. Du Xiaofu had seen many powerful demonic beast skeletons. They had all been killed in the region outside this place of great danger. Soon, some figures appeared in the canyon, walking carefully. When they saw Du Xiaofu, the Skywolf Lonely Sky Howl, and the Thunderhawk King, they were surprised. This place of great danger was very strange. Regardless of whether it was day or night, the surroundings were dark, cold, and boundlessly deep, just like before dawn. Up ahead is the depths of the place of great danger. No living being can walk out. Hence, it is called Death Canyon. Every step inside is extremely dangerous and strange. The Thunderhawk King looked at the depths of the canyon before a large pile of skeletons. The boundless void in the surroundings prevented their vision from prying too far. Looking at the depths of the canyon, the Mia Meng King's eyes were filled with fear. Back then, she and the Thunderhawk King did not dare to go deeper and retreated in a sorry state. It was too dangerous inside. Let's go. Du Xiaofu stood there and probed with his consciousness for a while. He did not dare to be careless. However, he was not obstructed because of this. His figure flashed and continued to go deeper. The Thunderhawk King, the Mia Meng King, and the Skywolf King followed behind. Boom! After a while, a huge energy palm stretched out from the boundless void. It carried an ancient aura, as if it had crossed through time and space from the ancient times. It seemed to have crossed tens of thousands of years and grabbed at Du Xiaofu, the Skywolf Lonely Sky Howl, the Thunderhawk King, and the Mia Meng King. That terrifying energy palm distorted the space. The aura of destruction leaked out. Everywhere it passed, the aura of death would sweep out, destroying everything. Boom! At the same time, Du Xiaofu waved his sleeves and flapped the sky-shaking wings. Golden light burst out and collided with that huge energy palm. The void exploded, and resplendent runes flooded the space as energy surged out. Be careful. The Thunderhawk King and the Mia Meng King were already on guard. Their expressions changed. At this moment, the Skywolf King also frowned slightly. His eyes surged with green light. He did not dare to be careless. Thump thump, Du Xiaofu's figure staggered back under that huge energy palm. He rubbed against the ground as he retreated several steps, causing the ground to crack. What a powerful force! Du Xiaofu stamped his foot on the ground and stabilized his body. His purple robe fluttered as he looked up at the void. That huge energy palm was already calm, without any fluctuations. However, the frightening handprint from before had caused Du Xiaofu to be astonished. It had an ancient aura. It is indeed dangerous. Du Xiaofu softly muttered. No wonder this place was called the Death Canyon by the ancient demonic beasts. That mysterious giant energy handprint just now was enough to directly kill a sealed domain stage expert. It was likely that even a great domain stage expert would be seriously injured. We should be careful. Looking around, Du Xiaofu found that everything had returned to silence and nothingness. He continued to venture deeper. The deeper they went, the more vast the canyon became. Occasionally, auspicious light would surge out from the rocks on both sides of the canyon. White mist flowed, and there was a strange aura fluctuating. However, the dense and ice-cold aura also became denser. The ground was littered with skeletons, which made everyone nervous for no reason. Swish swish. Suddenly, a sword light slashed down from the sky. It brought with it the sound of breaking wind. The sword light erupted with dazzling runes. Its energy was shocking as it slashed towards Du Xiaofu, who was in the lead. Roar! Du Xiaofu drew his sword and slashed out with the purple-gold heavenly tower. The cries of ghosts and gods, the roars of dragons and tigers, and the cries of birds and turtles reverberated as the purple and gold sword rays collided. Walala, as the two sword rays collided, dazzling arcs of electricity flickered, causing space to shatter. Frenzied energy swept through the void and stopped in the distance, dissipating into nothingness. A few moments later, several figures appeared a few thousand feet ahead. They were several elders and middle-aged men and women, leading several youths. They were also very cautious, and the auras they exuded were very vigorous and powerful. Not good. Run! Suddenly, an old man in front of them cried out in alarm. One figure after another immediately flew back in panic, as if they had seen the most terrifying thing, and their eyes were filled with fear. Rumble! Behind those figures, a large wave of energy light swept out like a tsunami, blotting out the sky and covering the sun. The ancient symbols were faintly accompanied by the continuous roars of beasts as they swept over with unparalleled strength. The speed of this terrifying energy was much faster than the speed at which the figures were fleeing. It was so overwhelming that it sealed space, leaving no place to hide. In the blink of an eye, the energy wave had engulfed the figures. Ah! Miserable cries rang out as the terrifying energy wave engulfed everything and swept towards Du Xiaofu, Sirius, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King. This terrifying energy wave shook the heavens, and wherever it passed, space shattered. Dodge! Du Xiaofu bellowed as golden light surged on his body, turning into a golden halo that protected Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. Walala! That terrifying energy wave swept past like a hurricane sweeping through a sand dune, destroying everything in its path. After a few breaths, the energy storm dissipated, revealing Du Xiaofu and the other three. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed as the golden light faded. The terrifying energy wave was too powerful, and it was enough to destroy the soul of a great domain realm cultivator. The four of them had not gone far, but they had already encountered several dangerous situations. The deeper they went, the more dangerous it would be. They are dead, Sirius said. With his cultivation, he was naturally fine, but he was frowning at this moment. The few people in front of him had already turned into nothingness, and even their bones could not be seen. They had fallen. It's too dangerous. Thunderhawk King had a lingering fear in his heart. He knew that if it were not for Du Xiaofu's protection, he and Mia Meng King would definitely be in trouble. Chapter 17:15. You guys can go back first. This place is indeed dangerous. Du Xiaofu sized up the front and said to the Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. This journey was filled with danger, and Du Xiaofu didn't know if he could protect the Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. Since we're already here, let's take things as they come. The Thunderhawk King said. Although he was afraid, his eyes were filled with determination. This was their last chance, and they had to give it their all. So the four of them continued on their journey and charged into the vast Death Canyon. The canyon was getting wider and wider, and the air was filled with an ancient aura. Not long after, they could see a large amount of skeletons, and there were even many undying beast race secret bones. They were all ancient items, and if they were to be exposed to the outside world, any one of these secret bones would be sufficient to cause a storm in the outside world. Du Xiaofu didn't stand on ceremony and put away many secret bones into his Qiankuan pouch. But there weren't too many waves in his heart, as this wasn't the fortune he was looking for. Ka, the ground was full of rotting bones. When one stepped on them, cracking sounds could be heard as they turned into fine powder. Some of the bones of powerful creatures had gradually lost their spiritual splendor after countless years, becoming mortal bones that would decay. Swish swish. Countless blade lights and sword shadows suddenly descended, accompanied by an ancient aura. The scene was shocking as it swept over. Du Xiaofu made a move to resist, and used a few moves in succession. He used the violet gold heavenly tower and the golden winged rock's beast energy to block it. The front was getting more and more hazy, and an enormous skeleton of a ferocious bird appeared. The skeleton didn't decay, and it was over 3,000 meters in size. Its entire body was dark red, and it silently stood there, looking ancient and mysterious. The surroundings were silent. This seems to be the skeleton of a roaring flame beast. The Thunderhawk King exclaimed, as he recognized the origin of the enormous skeleton. It was the skeleton of a roaring flame beast. Roaring flame beast. Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up as well. The roaring flame beast was an ancient demonic beast that had long disappeared from the world, and its strength wasn't inferior to the bloodline of the Sky Wolf. Chi La. In an instant, a palm-sized flame rose up from the center of the enormous skeleton of the roaring flame beast. Du Xiaofu, Sky Wolf, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King's eyes red flame beast, as they could clearly see that was the roaring flame beast's secret bones was emitting light. Crimson flames rose, and then the skeleton was ignited like a firework fuse. In an instant, the flames roared, igniting the entire huge skeleton, and the raging flames spread out. Roar! The skeleton of the roaring flame beast moved as if it was alive. Its eyes seemed to contain two seas of red flames. The huge skeleton stood up, shaking like a mountain peak. A terrifying ancient aura descended. The flames were not ordinary flames, they were not much weaker than the purple flames of the purple flame demonic phoenix. Roar! The skeleton of the roaring flame beast roared. Its aura locked onto Du Xiaofu and the others, and it began to roar and attack. What a terrifying aura! The Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King activated their true forms, but upon contact, they were blown away by the roaring flame beast's skeleton. They spat out blood, and their eyes were filled with shock. The terrifying aura emitted from the roaring flame beast's skeleton was not something they could contend against. Du Xiaofu and Sky Wolf Mo Tianxiao made their moves together to suppress the roaring flame beast's skeleton. The skeleton was too powerful, enough to kill a domain realm expert. Once the scarlet flame touched it, even a spirit weapon would be burned into magma. Sky Wolf Mo Tianxiao and Du Xiaofu used their Nirvana sovereign power, and were panting heavily. They were in a sorry state, but they finally suppressed the roaring flame beast skeleton and pulled out the secret bones. Only then did they resolve the danger. Death Canyon, there is no exit. The Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King sucked in a breath of cold air. It was no wonder that no one had been able to leave. In the divine domain, one's cultivation could not exceed the domain realm or nirvana realm. Just the roaring flame beast skeleton was enough to kill all intruders. How could they have a chance to leave? The four rested for a while, then continued forward. The ancient aura reverberated, and the space was silent. Rumble, but from time to time, a killing intent would descend, and a terrifying attack would sweep towards the four of them. The attacks were getting stronger and stronger. In the depths of the void, there was a resplendent spear light that descended like a thunderbolt. As the space collapsed, it locked onto Du Xiaofu, Sky Wolf, and the other two. Sky Wolf used his full strength, using his nirvana sovereign power. Although he blocked the spear, his palm was bleeding, and his face was pale. Be careful. Du Xiaofu also began to frown. The attacks in Death Canyon were getting stronger, and even Mo Tianxiao was injured. Continue. Mo Tianxiao did not retreat. He had already entered this deep, and did not want to give up. The four of them continued forward. Along the way, the attacks that appeared naturally were getting stronger, but the treasures they obtained were also getting more and more valuable. Puff, a peerless sword light pierced through the sky. Du Xiaofu blocked it with the purple gold heavenly tower, using his full strength. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, supported by the nirvana sovereign power, and activated the tyrant sword path. But in the end, Du Xiaofu vomited blood, and the purple gold heavenly tower in his hand was sent flying. The web between his thumb and forefinger was also cracked, and blood flowed out. That sword was also blocked. A vast aura spread out, and a treasured sword fell, letting out a rumbling sound. The surrounding sword images fluctuated, and a vision appeared in the sky. That's a saint artifact. Du Xiaofu exclaimed. That treasured sword was definitely at the saint artifact level, and would not be inferior to the void sacred halberd that legalism had obtained. Roar, the purple gold heavenly tower let out a rumbling sound, and its soul was boiling, wanting to devour that treasured sword. Buzz, buzz. That treasured sword also felt the unfriendly aura of Du Xiaofu's purple gold heavenly tower. It instinctively let out a rumbling sound, and resplendent runes appeared in the sky. Roar. The purple gold heavenly tower erupted, and a baleful aura poured out, accompanied by the cries of ghosts and howls of gods. Azure dragon, white tiger, phoenix, and black tortoise phantoms spiraled out, enveloping the space. Under the astonished gazes of the Sky Wolf, Thunder Eagle, and Mia Meng, the purple gold heavenly tower carried a kind of instinct and finally suppressed that treasured sword, and then began to devour it. What kind of treasure is that? It can actually devour other treasures. Mia Meng was somewhat dumbfounded, and Mo Tianxiao and Thunder Eagle King were also astonished. Du Xiaofu stuffed some spirit medicine into his mouth, chewed it up, and swallowed it. The wound between his thumb and forefinger healed under the effect of the indestructible Xian body. That sword was too terrifying, and it had also injured him. But at this moment, Du Xiaofu felt even more pain. The purple gold heavenly tower had directly erupted and devoured a saint artifact. It was too late to stop it. Are you alright? Mo Tianxiao asked Du Xiaofu. The sword just now was so terrifying that he felt that even if he used his full strength, he would definitely not be able to withstand it. Abnormal, it's too abnormal. Du Xiaofu said solemnly, looking at the boundless canyon around, and asked Mo Tianxiao, how long have we been in here? 3 days, 5 days, or 6 days? Mo Tianxiao hesitated, somewhat unable to feel it. In this death canyon, the deeper they went, the more they seemed to lose the meaning of time. Do you guys remember how long we have been in here? Du Xiaofu asked Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King. Mia Meng King shook his head and said, I can't feel it, but it should be 3 to 5 days. This is abnormal, Du Xiaofu frowned, carefully looking around, and his mind was also secretly affected. What's wrong? Seeing Du Xiaofu's reaction, Thunder Eagle King asked worriedly. Along the way, he had already unknowingly treated Du Xiaofu as the center, and treated him as the leader. Du Xiaofu did not say anything, and looked back and forth, occasionally using his mind to probe. While Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King were astonished, he even used the Redbone Horse Monkey's origin spirit. After a short moment, a wisp of a helpless and bitter smile appeared on Du Xiaofu's face as he said to Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King, "If I'm not wrong, then we can't return anymore." Chapter 17-16. Can't go back. What do you mean? Thunderhawk King immediately became nervous. Mo Tianxiao and Mia Meng King also frowned as they stared at Du Xiaofu. "If you don't believe me, see if you can go back. You'll know after you give it a try," Du Xiaofu said with a smile. Thunderhawk King was a little confused. Mo Tianxiao also frowned. In the end, they really turned around and left with Mia Meng King and the other two, wanting to verify Du Xiaofu's words. "Be careful," Du Xiaofu reminded them. He did not follow them. Instead, he stared at the heavenly tower as it devoured the sacred artifact. Several hours later, the sacred artifact-level sword had turned into ordinary iron. As for the heavenly tower, it took the initiative to return to Du Xiaofu's heavenly tower amidst the dragon roars and tiger roars and started to fall silent. No matter how Du Xiaofu called out, the heavenly tower did not respond. It was as if it had fallen asleep. As for the sword, it had already been devoured by the heavenly tower and turned into ordinary metal. After that, it cracked, shattered, and turned into nothingness. There should be a great improvement, Du Xiaofu murmured. This was the first time the heavenly tower of purple gold had devoured a saint artifact. By the looks of it, the heavenly tower of purple gold was in a deep slumber. It was probably consuming the tremendous amount of energy it had just devoured. Once the heavenly tower of purple gold awoke, its grade would definitely increase drastically. Thinking of this, Du Xiaofu's heartache from losing a sacred artifact lessened a little. They should be anxious. After tidying up his clothes, Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. Then, he looked at the direction Mo Tianxiao and Thunderhawk King left in. 2 hours later, Du Xiaofu appeared before Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King in the vast canyon. However, the three of them were in a very sorry state. They were quite injured. When they saw Du Xiaofu, they were all shocked. "How did you find us?" Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King were greatly astonished. After they turned around and walked for a period of time, they realized something was wrong. It seemed like there was no way back anymore. The scenery along the way was completely different. Those natural attacks did not weaken at all. Instead, they were getting stronger and stronger. The sudden attacks caused Lonely Sky Wolf to be injured several times. When they wanted to go back to find Du Xiaofu, they found that they couldn't. Behind them, there was still no way back. The three of them were anxious. When they saw Du Xiaofu again, they were naturally very surprised. "We can't go back, right?" Du Xiaofu looked at the three of them and asked with a helpless smile. "We seem to be trapped," Mo Tianxiao said. Du Xiaofu was right. They were indeed trapped. It was impossible for them to even return. Since the ancient times until now, living beings have entered Death Canyon but never left. Perhaps it's related to this strange place. Once they enter too deep, it'll be too late for them to leave. Mia Meng King gasped. Back then, she and Thunderhawk King had entered Death Canyon. Fortunately, they didn't go too deep. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to leave even if they wanted to. It must be related to this place. This should be a profound illusory realm, but it's also very real. No matter which direction we go, it's the entrance. There's no way back. There's only entry and no exit. Du Xiaofu said with a serious expression, "We're in an illusory realm, but the attacks are real. Therefore, it makes us believe that this is real and not an illusory realm. The deeper we go, the stronger the attacks will be. The treasures and rewards we obtain will be more valuable. It makes us lose our rationality and believe that a greater opportunity is right in front of us. Until, Du Xiaofu paused for a moment. He looked at Sky Wolf, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King and said, until we can no longer resist and are killed by the attacks. We still think that we're only one step away from obtaining a great opportunity. What a terrifying illusory realm. Mia Meng gasped. According to this explanation, they wouldn't even know how they died. A profound illusory realm. There's only death. Sky Wolf frowned. This illusory realm was luring living beings step by step, and they would be killed in the end. It was too dangerous. Then what should we do now? We can't go deeper, and there's no way to turn back. Thunderhawk King looked at Du Xiaofu with an expectant expression. He hoped that Du Xiaofu would have a way. I've pondered for a long time, but unfortunately, I'm still unable to break out of this illusory realm. Du Xiaofu shook his head. He felt that it was getting more and more abnormal. In the end, he relied on the Redbone Horsemonkey's innate talent to confirm that this was an illusory realm. However, Du Xiaofu still had no clue how to get out. This wasn't an ordinary illusory realm. Even the Redbone Horsemonkey's soul was helpless. We're finished. If we can't find the opportunity, will we be trapped to death? Thunderhawk King was helpless. He never thought that he would be trapped to death in this illusory realm after entering this death canyon. If we don't move, we shouldn't attract any killing intent. Du Xiaofu released his consciousness to the surroundings and said, "Give me some time. I don't think we'll be trapped to death, right?" Soon after, Du Xiaofu started to size up the surroundings. He pondered at times and formed hand seals at other times. Occasionally, he would attract fierce attacks from the illusory realm. Swish! Swish! A gale swept past, covering the sky and the earth. It was capable of destroying everything. Rumble, a thunderbolt descended, bringing along a destructive aura. When these attacks passed through the air, Sky Wolf, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King were already covered in dirt. Their injuries worsened as they continuously vomited blood. Why don't we think of a way together? Mo Tianxiao said to Du Xiaofu. He truly didn't believe in Du Xiaofu. If Du Xiaofu attracted a few more terrifying attacks, they would be exhausted to death sooner or later. Right, let's think of a way together. Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King agreed with Mo Tianxiao. They were even more worried than Mo Tianxiao. They were afraid that Du Xiaofu would attract more attacks and bring them down with him. Don't worry, don't worry. It's fine, Du Xiaofu comforted Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, and the others. At this moment, he had already dug out everything he knew about formations in his mind. The art of divination, the 9 palaces, and 6 directions, as well as various formations. Why is it so complicated? If this is an illusory realm, then there must be a way to break it. Du Xiaofu muttered softly as he immersed himself in breaking the illusory realm. He also took out everything in the heavenly spirit record at the last minute, making all sorts of deductions and breakthroughs. Time passed slowly. Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King stood at the side. They were even more nervous than Du Xiaofu. 9 palaces and 6 directions. The Tao gives birth to 1. 1 gives birth to 2. 2 gives birth to 3. 3 gives birth to all things. Is that how it is? It was unknown how much time had passed, but it was certain that it was not a short period of time. As Du Xiaofu formed hand seals, ancient runes appeared in the void. Finally, they gathered in front of Du Xiaofu. They carried an ancient aura that transcended time and space. A large number of dazzling talisman patterns eventually formed an illusory door in front of Du Xiaofu. It was quiet, and the surroundings were dyed with resplendent talisman patterns. Break! Du Xiaofu waved his hand, and resplendent talisman patterns shot out from his palm. With a violent shake, the illusory door of talisman patterns in front of him immediately shattered. Chi! Chi! The surrounding space immediately trembled. The resplendent talisman patterns shattered like a mirror, and an ancient aura soared into the sky. At the same time, a dazzling light rushed out from the surroundings, and a vast plain appeared in front of everyone. The surroundings were ancient, and the four of them had a drastic change in expression. They immediately felt a vast aura, as if they had transcended time and space, and returned to the ancient times. What a brilliant illusion! Du Xiaofu had a smile in his eyes. He had finally broken the array. He did not expect the illusion to be closely related to the array in the heavenly spirit record. In the end, after comprehending the array in the heavenly spirit record, he managed to break through the illusion. This was enough to prove that Du Xiaofu had always been outstanding in terms of comprehension. If it was someone else, they wouldn't have been able to do it even if they had crammed the Buddha's feet at the last minute. We're finally out. Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King were pleasantly surprised. They looked at Du Xiaofu with admiration in their eyes. What is that place? Sirius looked around, and his attention was attracted to the front. The plain in front was dyed with light, and a gorgeous light screen appeared. Multicolored light flowed within the light screen, and the aura was ancient, as if it was a sacred land. There's a treasure land in front of us, and it contains great opportunities. Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King were pleasantly surprised. They looked ahead and felt the rich aura of treasure. That was a treasure land, and the two of them immediately rushed over. Du Xiaofu and Mo Tianxiao did not stay for long. There was an ancient aura fluctuating in front of them, and it did not seem like an ordinary land. Rumble, however, as the four of them approached and passed through the light curtain, a large wave of frightening attacks accompanied by ancient chi shot out in an incomparably resplendent manner and swept towards the four of them. Chapter 17:17. Rumble, along with the terrifying attacks, heaven and earth shook violently. Many phantoms appeared. There were ancient demonic beast phantoms and human phantoms. They roared like thunder and dazzled with radiance. An ancient flood dragon phantom pounced towards Mo Tianxiao. Its terrifying power was definitely not inferior to Mo Tianxiao's full strength. Sensing the terrifying aura of the flood dragon phantom, Mo Tianxiao immediately activated the heavenly wolf's true form and used the supreme power to fight it. There was a middle-aged phantom with a huge blade in his hand. He pounced towards Thunderhawk King. His terrifying aura was definitely not inferior to Thunderhawk King at his peak. There was a phantom of a woman who used a primordial spirit attack to attack Mia Meng King. Her terrifying aura was definitely not inferior to Mia Meng King at his peak. Du Xiaofu was fighting against an old phantom with white hair and a white beard. He looked like a transcendent being. His long robe fluttered in the wind, and he emitted an ancient aura. This illusory figure of the old man had traversed through time and space and appeared at this place to fight against Du Xiaofu. That terrifying strength of his was way too frightening. Du Xiaofu had never seen those frightening techniques of his before. Rumble, suddenly, the void boiled with dazzling runes. Du Xiaofu attacked with all his might. Lightning martial vein, star energy, purple flame demonic phoenix's beast energy, violent dragon ninth heaven's power that temporarily increased his cultivation, nirvana power of grand supremacy, and golden winged rock's beast energy. However, the old phantom was too strong. No matter how hard Du Xiaofu tried, he could still resist and counterattack. Extreme Yin Seal, Minor Yang Seal, Minor Yin Seal. Du Xiaofu made his move. 3 seals overlapped, and the mysterious 4 images seal was launched. It collided with the strange old man's attack. Bang! The void exploded. The energy seemed to be destructive. It spread out in all directions and destroyed a large area of space. Pucci, under that terrifying energy, Du Xiaofu's body was directly sent flying. With the support of the immortal Xian body and the golden-winged rock race's body refinement technique, he couldn't help but vomit blood at this moment. So strong. Du Xiaofu's eyes revealed some fear. He had already used all his strength, including the nirvana strength of the sovereign. However, he was still unable to deal with the old man's shadow. The peak of the nirvana realm. Du Xiaofu could clearly sense that although the old man did not have the symbol of 9 divine rings, he was definitely a nirvana stage grand sovereign. Moreover, he was at the nirvana stage. Not only that, he was at the peak of the nirvana stage. When Du Xiaofu scanned his surroundings with his mind, he noticed that the illusory flood dragon attacking Mo Tianxiao was definitely a nirvana supremacy. Its cultivation base was also at the peak of the nirvana supremacy realm. On the other hand, the male and female silhouettes that attacked Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King had lower cultivation levels, but they were still terrifying. Both of them were supreme nirvanas and were at the peak of the true self realm. Aoo, the Sky Wolf roared as azure runes blossomed. The Sky Wolf clan's beast energy was fully activated and they were locked in a stalemate with the illusory flood dragon. However, they were still unable to gain the upper hand. Mia Meng King and Thunderhawk King had already activated their main bodies and used the nirvana supremacy realm. However, they were still suppressed and were in a sorry state. Damn it! We can't use treasures here. We can only use our physical strength. Suddenly, Thunderhawk King cursed. As the king of ancient demonic beasts in the divine domain, he had collected quite a lot of treasures. His weapon was definitely a saint artifact. However, at this moment, Thunderhawk King realized that when facing the attack of the illusory figure, the other party could use treasures, but he could only use his physical strength. Me too. We can't use treasures. There are restrictions here. Mia Meng King was also shocked. She was in the same situation. She could only use the power of the Mia Meng bird and couldn't use her treasures. Boom! In an instant, the white beard of the illusory old man fluttered as he rapidly attacked Du Xiaofu again. Every move he made shattered the void. Fight! It was just an illusory figure at the Nirvana realm. It was also a Nirvana supremacy realm expert. Du Xiaofu's desire to fight was aroused. Rumble! Du Xiaofu activated the 8 trigrams diagram and a vision filled the sky. Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein and golden-winged rock fused into the purple-gold thunder rock. It flapped its wings and fought with the illusory old man. The illusory old man did not say anything and was expressionless. However, his frightening strength made it difficult for Du Xiaofu to suppress him even when he activated the 8 trigrams diagram. Although he was clearly affected, it was not something that Du Xiaofu could truly suppress. PFFF, a moment later, Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King vomited blood at the same time. Their huge bodies were sent flying and landed on the ground. They suffered heavy injuries and their bodies were already drenched in blood. It was difficult for them to defend against the attacks of their respective opponents. Retreat! Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King were no match for the illusory old man. They immediately retreated and escaped out of the light screen. The 2 illusory figures stared at Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King. They didn't chase after them. After Mia Meng King and Thunderhawk King retreated out of the light screen, the 2 illusory figures also disappeared into the void. This miraculous scene stunned Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King, but they soon heaved a sigh of relief. PFFF, Mo Tianxiao's main body was also vomiting blood at this moment. However, he was still fighting with the illusory flood dragon. Not long after, Mo Tianxiao was severely injured by the illusory flood dragon again. The resplendent runes on his body had already dimmed and his body was cracked. Bang! A moment later, Mo Tianxiao was no match for the illusory flood dragon. His heavenly wolf body was heavily hammered to the ground. His body was drenched in blood as he vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His consciousness also noticed that Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King wouldn't be attacked again after they retreated. Mo Tianxiao clenched his teeth. When the illusory flood dragon was about to continue its attack, Mo Tianxiao also retreated out of the light screen in a sorry state. "Aoo!" the illusory flood dragon roared. Soon after, the huge resplendent illusory flood dragon also strangely disappeared into the void. It also didn't have any intention of attacking Du Xiaofu. The light screen was resplendent but very transparent. Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King could still clearly see the battle between Du Xiaofu and the old man's illusory figure through the light screen. Roar, rumble, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled as the wind and clouds surged. Du Xiaofu even activated his primordial spirit Scarlet Horse Monkey. Together with the 8 trigrams diagram, he still couldn't gain the upper hand. "What a strange pulse soul," Thunderhawk King said. It was very strange. He had never seen Du Xiaofu's pulse soul that contained such a terrifying aura. "It doesn't seem like a pulse soul. It seems like a primordial spirit," Mia Meng King said. She felt that the Scarlet Horse Monkey was more like Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. No matter how strong the primordial spirit is, it can't leave the body for too long. Once the primordial spirit takes form and is blocked by someone, when it encounters danger, it won't even have the chance to self-destruct. It's not like the primordial spirit. Thunderhawk King suspected that the primordial spirit of a human cultivator was like the beast soul of a beast clan. At their level of cultivation, it wasn't impossible for the beast soul to leave the body for a while. But once they encountered danger and the beast soul was injured, it would undoubtedly be an irreversible outcome. Moreover, in a battle with an opponent, once it reached the final moment, if the opponent's cultivation was only slightly stronger than his, even if he wasn't a match for the opponent would still have to be wary of the price he would have to pay if he self-destructed. But no matter if it was a human cultivator or a beast clan, the power formed from self-destruction was the combination of the profound chi contained in the body and the primordial spirit beast soul. Only by using their life as the price could they erupt with a terrifying power that was even stronger than when they were at their peak. And if the primordial spirit or beast soul left the body, once the primordial spirit and beast soul were blocked by someone, they wouldn't even have the chance to self-destruct. Moreover, if the opponent was stronger than him, activating the beast soul and primordial spirit would be useless. The opponent also had primordial spirit and beast soul. The aura of a peak Nirvana Realm Grand Exalted Nirvana Realm Expert. Mo Tianxiao withdrew his main body, consumed medicinal pills and spirit herbs, and looked at the shadow old man that was fighting intensely with Du Xiaofu on the screen of light, and his eyes trembled. Bang! 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 Muffled sounds rang out from the 8 trigrams diagram, and the roars of beasts were like thunder. The aftermath of the terrifying power that swept out had long since collapsed and drowned the surroundings. After an entire hour, Du Xiaofu spat out blood again. The 8 trigrams diagram was unable to suppress the shadow old man. His purple robe was torn, his hair was disheveled, and some of the golden blood stains in his mouth were stained. Why is it that only the opponents he encounters are the strongest? Thunderhawk King sighed. It was very obvious that the opponents Du Xiaofu encountered were stronger than the flood dragon phantom that Mo Tianxiao encountered, and the opponents they encountered. Bang! Du Xiaofu was injured again. His 9 divine rings dimmed, and the 8 trigrams diagram flickered, appearing chaotic. However, the shadow old man didn't stop at all. He continued to attack, and mysterious runes bloomed. Multicolored light filled the air, destroying the void and enveloping Du Xiaofu. Retreat! Du Xiaofu clenched his teeth, and the great pink golden wings on his back flapped, and he escaped from the light screen in a flash. The shadow old man's terrifying attack suddenly vanished, and the shadow old man's figure also disappeared in the void. Du Xiaofu's mouth was stained with blood, and there were traces of cracks on his body. His complexion was pale, and his eyes were still fixed on the light screen. "How are you?" Mia Meng King stepped forward and asked Du Xiaofu. It wasn't a polite question, but because Du Xiaofu had protected them many times along the way. This was her true gratitude. "I'm fine." Du Xiaofu's mouth curved into a bitter smile, and he stuffed quite a few spiritual herbs into his mouth. Under the undying Xian body, the cracks on his body healed under Thunderhawk King's and Mia Meng King's surprised gazes. It was just that his clothes were tattered, and he appeared to be in a very sorry state. However, in the eyes of Mia Meng King, Thunderhawk King, and Mo Tianxiao, this was definitely not a sorry state, but a kind of absolute ferocity. The three of them clearly knew that if they encountered the Shadow Old Man, the consequences would be unimaginable. This place is too strange. What exactly is inside? Thunderhawk King stared at the light screen, but didn't dare to enter again. Just now, he had escaped from death, and he almost couldn't escape. "I don't know." Du Xiaofu shook his head, looked at the light screen, and said, "But no matter what it is, I'm afraid we will only know after destroying those shadows. Those shadows are too strong. We are not a match for them." Thunderhawk King sighed. "I think someone must have deliberately set this up. If we want to know everything inside, we have to destroy those shadows." Du Xiaofu said. "Those shadows don't even have the power of the souls, but they are already so terrifying. I wonder how strong the person who set this up is." Mo Tianxiao said, and exclaimed. Du Xiaofu smiled. This place was set up by the Dragon God and the Lord of the 3,000 Great Worlds. It would be strange if it wasn't strong. "Look, what is that?" Suddenly, Mia Meng King looked into the distance and exclaimed, as if he had made a huge discovery. Chapter 17-18. Following the Mia Meng monarch's gaze, Du Xiaofu, Mo Tianxiao, and the Thunder Eagle King looked over. They vaguely saw several figures seated cross-legged on a large patch of messy rocks to the side. "There are people," azure light flickered in Mo Tianxiao's eyes as he probed with his mind. He said, "There are no signs of life. They seem to have passed away." Du Xiaofu did not find any signs of life either. He cautiously moved over. It was a messy patch of rocks. On a few flat rocks, there were three figures sitting cross-legged. When Du Xiaofu and the other three approached, they realized that the three figures had already turned into skeletons. Their clothes were tattered, and even their universe bags were gone. It was unknown how many years had passed since these three skeletons died. However, the skeletons were still glowing. Even with the passage of time, they still gave off a crystalline radiance, giving off a horrifying and surging prime aura. "Nirvana Supremes." Mo Tianxiao's voice trembled. He clearly sensed a startling prime aura from the three skeletons. Even if a Nirvana Supremes passed away, their skeletons still possessed the might of a prime, inviolable. They all passed away in meditation. Maybe they were also people who accidentally broke through the illusionary realm and entered this place. Nirvana Paragons also passed away in meditation. Were they trapped here? When the Mia Meng monarch saw that there were people who passed away here, his heart immediately turned grave. They passed away at different times. After the Thunderhawk King investigated, he came to a conclusion. The first skeleton was the oldest, and the radiance on the skeleton was slightly dimmer. Next was the second skeleton, and finally the third skeleton, and there was even some dried skin on its body. Strictly speaking, this third skeleton still had flesh and skin connected. However, its eyes were tightly shut, its clothes were tattered, and its hair was messy. There are no signs of life. These three people should have entered this place one after another. However, in the end, Du Wufa destroyed the illusory figure in the light screen and could only pass away. Mo Tianxiao came to a conclusion about the three skeletons. At this moment, he felt somewhat desolate. The Nirvana Supremes of the past also died here. Their fates were easy to imagine. It looks like after exiting the illusion, this is another desperate situation. Death Canyon is a place where one can enter but not exit. No one can leave. The Thunderhawk King sighed. There wasn't much time left, and this was the last time the divine domain was destroyed. No matter how unwilling Wu Wan was, he couldn't change the result. You were all supreme geniuses when you were alive. You should be buried in peace. Du Xiaofu didn't say anything. He bowed to the 3 skeletons and then blasted out 3 huge pits at the side, burying the 3 skeletons in the pits. This could be considered as a form of respect for the supreme genius. The skeleton of a Nirvana sovereign was definitely a treasure. Even if it was just a few skeletal puppets refined according to the heavenly spirit record, they would still be priceless. However, Du Xiaofu did not do so. The fact that the 3 of them were able to break through the illusion and enter this place proved that they were extraordinary. Even if they died now, they should be buried with dignity. I respect you all. However, your cosmos pouches are of no use to me. So, I won't hold back. Du Xiaofu opened his mouth and collected a lot of Qianquan bags from the 3 skeletons. As expected, you have a motive. The Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King rolled their eyes at Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu didn't mind the Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King's rolling eyes. He said to the 3 of them, heal your injuries first. There shouldn't be any danger outside the light screen. Although Mo Tianxiao, the Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King's hearts were heavy at this moment, the first thing they had to do was to heal their injuries. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged and looked at the dazzling space within the light screen. His gaze was dull for a moment. Then, he closed his eyes and began to regulate his breathing to heal his injuries. After more than 20 hours, Du Xiaofu was already fine. His complexion was rosy as he began to open the cosmos pouches on the skeletons of the 3 Nirvana sovereigns. There were restrictions on those cosmos pouches. However, after such a long time, the bodies of the Nirvana sovereigns had already decayed and the power of the restrictions had already weakened. Therefore, Du Xiaofu didn't need to spend too much effort to open them. Within the cosmos pouches, multicolored light soared into the sky. There were martial skills, cultivation techniques, extraordinary secret bones of the beast clan, and many high-grade magic tools. In all the cosmos pouches, there were even 4 saint tools that were not inferior to the void sacred halberd. Du Xiaofu's harvest was huge. As expected of the cosmos pouches left behind by the Nirvana sovereigns. However, there wasn't a single elixir or spiritual herb in all the cosmos pouches. This made Du Xiaofu solemn. It wasn't hard to imagine that the 3 Nirvana sovereigns had tried to break through the light screen. Moreover, it wasn't the first time they had tried to break through the light screen. However, in the end, the 3 Nirvana sovereigns at different stages of their cultivation had been severely injured. After exhausting their last elixir and spiritual herb, they knew that they had exhausted their vitality and were powerless to reverse the situation. Is there really no way to break through? Du Xiaofu muttered softly with his brows tightly knitted. The 3 Nirvana sovereigns at different stages of their cultivation hadn't escaped from the calamity. They must have thought of countless methods when they were alive, but they were still unable to escape. Hula, Mo Tianxiao, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King all stopped their breathing to heal their injuries. They exhaled turbid air, and their complexions were still pale. The 3 gazes looked at Du Xiaofu, whose complexion was rosy, and were secretly shocked. They had used the same breathing technique to heal their injuries, but they were only slightly better. However, that fellow seemed to have completely recovered. Is there any way to break free? Mo Tianxiao asked Du Xiaofu. However, he was very clear in his heart that if there was any way, those 3 Nirvana sovereigns wouldn't have turned into skeletons. Du Xiaofu shook his head and looked at the light screen. His gaze was a little sluggish, as if he was pondering. After pondering for a while, Du Xiaofu suddenly said to Thunderhawk King, go in and try again. However, don't continue fighting. If you can't win, immediately come out. That place is too terrifying. I can't do anything about it. Thunderhawk King had a lingering fear in his heart. The opponent he encountered the last time was still fine, and their strength was similar to his. If he didn't have the injuries from forcefully breaking through 1,000 years ago, he would surely be able to suppress the opponent. However, with his current situation, he was helpless. Moreover, if he were to encounter a flood dragon and expert like Mo Tianxiao and Du Xiaofu, Thunderhawk King knew that he probably wouldn't even have the chance to escape at that time. Thus, he didn't dare to casually enter the light screen. Don't worry. As long as you don't continue fighting and exchange one move, there shouldn't be too much danger. If you want to break through the profundity of this place, you must go in and try. Du Xiaofu said to Thunderhawk King with a serious expression. Thunderhawk King hesitated for a moment and looked at Du Xiaofu. In the end, he clenched his teeth and nodded. I believe you. Alright, I'll go in and give it a try. I'll go as well. Mia Meng King said as he wanted to accompany Thunderhawk King in. No need. Thunderhawk King can go alone. Du Xiaofu said to Mia Meng King. Don't worry, I'll surely come out alive. After deciding, Thunderhawk King was very straightforward. As soon as he finished speaking to Mia Meng King, his figure flashed out, and lightning fluctuated as he flashed into the light screen. Aoo, along with the Thunderhawk King flashing in, the roar of a beast came from within the light screen, and a savage demon tiger roared out. The Void Shadow Demon Tiger carried a ferocious might as it glared at Thunderhawk King like a tiger glaring at its prey. Rumble. Thunderhawk King utilized his true form and flapped his wings to carry surging lightning that shattered the space. However, he was directly blasted back by the Demon Tiger with only one move. Coupled with his old injuries not being healed and his new injuries not being healed, blood once again flowed out from Thunderhawk King's mouth, and he was unable to deal with the Void Shadow Demon Tiger. Thunderhawk King remembered what Du Xiaofu told him. Exchanging one move was enough. He didn't continue fighting and immediately seized the opportunity to retreat from the light screen. Peak of Nirvana True Self, Du Xiaofu gazed at the Void Shadow Demon Tiger that was slowly disappearing within the light screen. Even through the light screen, he was able to sense that the Void Shadow Demon Tiger's strength was at the peak of Nirvana True Self. If Thunderhawk King was at his peak, he should be able to contend with it. Unfortunately, Thunderhawk King had a pile of old and new injuries that greatly affected his strength. You have to give it a try as well. Du Xiaofu said to Mo Tianxiao. Alright. Mo Tianxiao didn't say anything else. As the azure light fluctuated, his figure had already flashed into the light screen. Swish. Swish. Within the space, an illusory middle-aged man that was suffused with light appeared. The long spear in his hand was also like an illusory image, but it was suffused with an abnormally real pressure. The spear light was like a flying dragon that soared into the sky with vast might. Aoo. Mo Tianxiao didn't dare to be careless as he utilized the Skywolf's true form, but he was also continuously pushed back. In the end, he was forced to flee from the light screen in a sorry state. The illusory middle-aged man's figure also immediately disappeared under Du Xiaofu's gaze. Peak of Nirvana True Self, just as I expected. Du Xiaofu's gaze lightly raised as the corners of his mouth revealed a slight smile. Chapter 1719. Have you found a way? Mo Tianxiao retreated to Du Xiaofu's side and asked as he looked at Du Xiaofu. It's just a rough guess. The smile on Du Xiaofu's face immediately turned helpless. He said to Mo Tianxiao, Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King, if my guess is correct, the phantoms that appear in the light screen are related to our own cultivation. The stronger we are, the stronger our opponents will be. However, they should be the strongest existences in the same realm. Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King are at the Nirvana realms, so their opponents should be at the peak of the Nirvana realms. Mo Tian Shao, you are at the Nirvana realms, so your opponents should be at the peak of the Nirvana realms. Whether those phantoms are humans or beasts, they all have the strength closest to the next realm. After pausing for a moment, Du Xiaofu looked at the light screen in front of them and said, perhaps this is a test. Only by defeating the strongest existences in the same realm and being invincible in the same realm can we pass the test. As for whether we can leave in the end and what is behind the light screen, we will only know if we can defeat the attacks of those phantoms. Mo Tian Shao, Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King secretly nodded. They felt that Du Xiaofu's analysis was correct. Invincible in the same realm, however, to become invincible within the same realm, this caused the expressions of the Thunderhawk King and the Mia Meng King to immediately become solemn. From the looks of the injuries on their bodies, it was really too difficult for them to become invincible within the same realm. Not to mention the 3 Nirvana realm sovereigns that had just been buried not far away. They had probably used all their strength when they were alive, but they were still trapped to death in the end. Becoming invincible in the same realm was definitely not an easy task. Being invincible in the same realm is not easy. There is a huge gap between those who have just stepped into the Nirvana realms and those who have reached the peak. Mo Tian Shao said. At their current level of cultivation, there was a huge gap between those who had just stepped into the Nirvana realm and those who had reached the peak. He himself had just stepped into the Nirvana realm not too long ago, so it was not easy for him to become invincible among those at the same level of cultivation. It's not impossible. If we want to get out, this is the only way. Perhaps this is a test. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu did not feel the same way. The heaviness in his heart had turned into a raging battle intent. In the outside world, he had never lost to anyone of the same cultivation level. Even when he faced Moksha, it was a draw. Neither of them had gained an advantage over the other. Right now, facing the test ahead of him, it was not that he did not have a chance. Fight! Du Xiaofu soared through the sky and charged into the screen of light once more. He wanted to verify his guess, and he also wanted to unravel the profundities of this place. If he wanted to escape, then there was only this path now, otherwise, those 3 Nirvana exalted realm experts wouldn't have perished in meditation and become skeletons. Roar! Inside the light screen, the talisman characters were resplendent and gorgeous. This time, Du Xiaofu was facing a demonic leopard phantom that was several hundred feet in size and was pressing down like a collapsing mountain. It was as if it was a living creature. Its eyes were suffused with an icy aura that could freeze and shatter the void. Its claws were like blades that could shatter the space and seal everything. This kind of icy power was even more powerful than the icy power on Lian Qingrong's body. Boom! Du Xiaofu made his move. Purple flames surged and talisman characters blossomed. He activated the purple flame demonic phoenix's beast energy and destroyed the icy power. His guess is right. The opponent that appears inside is related to one's strength. The stronger one is, the stronger the phantom opponent that appears inside will be. Looking at the demonic ice leopard phantom that Du Xiaofu was fighting, Thunderhawk King, Mia Meng King, and even Mo Tian Shao were a little frightened. Although the demonic ice leopard phantom was just a phantom, its strength was incomparably terrifying. However, what truly frightened Thunderhawk King, Mia Meng King, and Mo Tian Shao was the one who left all of this behind. To be able to set up such a method, how terrifying was that person's strength? It was something that they didn't dare to imagine. Roar! The demonic leopard phantom roared. The sound waves made people's heart tremble. Frost surged, and its aura fluctuated like a vast ocean. It unceasingly pounced on Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu went all out. The 8 trigrams diagram, the golden-winged rock phantom, and the lightning martial vein were all activated to fight against the demonic leopard phantom. Rumble, the space within the light screen was boiling. Runes were resplendent, and abnormal phenomena appeared in the sky. Lightning interweaved, and various terrifying methods filled the sky, causing Thunderhawk King and Mia Meng King to be inwardly frightened. However, although Du Xiaofu was very strong, Mo Tian Xiao, Thunderhawk King, and Mia Meng King were all worried for Du Xiaofu. That terrifying demonic leopard phantom was too powerful. It was definitely the strongest existence under the reincarnation Nirvana realm. It even had the strength to contend against domain realm experts. Du Xiaofu continued to fight. The 8 trigrams diagram displayed its might, and energy swept out. The space was like a wave that spread out. The purple-gold thunder rock flapped its wings, and it was enough to destroy mountains and rivers. However, as the demonic leopard phantom roared, it activated various ancient methods and blocked all of Du Xiaofu's attacks. This battle was very terrifying. Du Xiaofu went all out, and his primordial spirit Scarlet Pheasant Monkey was also activated. It was equivalent to 2 against 1. The 4 types of spiritual lightning merged and turned into a thunderstorm that surged and boiled. Electric arcs flooded the space and suppressed the demonic leopard. However, in the end, it was still Du Xiaofu who was defeated. His body was sealed in ice, and he suffered a claw attack from the demonic leopard phantom. A deep cut appeared on his back, and he was dripping with blood. The golden-winged rock on his back was also shattered in several places. He was riddled with scars, and his hair was disheveled. He retreated in a sorry state. Pucci. Within the light screen, the demonic leopard phantom did not chase after him, and it gradually disappeared. However, Du Xiaofu vomited blood outside the light screen, and the light golden blood was suffused with radiance. That demonic leopard phantom is at the peak of the Nirvana realm. It is an invincible existence in the same realm. You have only just stepped into the Nirvana realm. Mo Tian Xiao said to Du Xiaofu. He was extremely shocked in his heart. He naturally knew that Du Xiaofu had only broken through before entering the Death Valley. However, his strength was definitely unrivaled in the same realm. It was a pity that the demonic leopard phantom was at the peak of the Nirvana realm. If Du Xiaofu was also at the peak of the Nirvana realm and Mo Tian Xiao was at the same level as him, then this Devil King would be able to suppress that phantom demon leopard and become an invincible existence in the same realm. However, to go from the Nirvana realm to the peak of the Nirvana realm, no matter how talented one was, required a very long process. A few decades was already a miracle and abnormal amount of time. There were even some people who couldn't surpass it in thousands of years. There was no need to mention the talent of those who could reach the Nirvana realm. However, there were also some who couldn't guarantee that they would be stuck at the edge of the Nirvana realm for the rest of their lives. I'll heal my injuries first. Du Xiaofu sat down cross-legged as purple-gold lightning surged around his body. His body recovered as he chewed on spirit herbs and began to heal his injuries. A moment later, his body was shrouded in golden light and emitted the domineering aura of a golden rock. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was pondering. He had gone all out in his battle with the demonic leopard phantom. However, he couldn't use any of his treasures, not even the purple lightning profound cauldron. The demonic leopard phantom came from ancient times, and its bloodline had long ceased to exist. It was extremely powerful, and this was the first time he had seen all kinds of beasts. Although I know I will definitely be scolded to death, I still decided to take a day off today. I don't want to stop updating, so I rushed out this chapter. Please forgive me. It's nothing. I just feel that it's better to have a short pain than a long pain, so I asked for a day off to adjust. If no one agrees, then I'll act first and report later. Chapter 1720. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio. Du Xiaofu was immersed in comprehending what he had gained and what he lacked in the battle. He was comprehending the lightning profundity, the golden winged rock's beast energy, and the 8 trigrams profundity. His injuries were slowly recovering. All kinds of talisman runes were lingering around Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu was comprehending everything. His body was suffused with all kinds of profundity auras. The resplendent talisman runes turned into strands of light and condensed together like a light screen, enveloping Du Xiaofu and lingering around his body. An enormous pressure filled the air, causing Thunderhawk King, Mia Meng King, and Mo Tian Zhao's expressions to change. He seems to be comprehending something. He has gained a lot in the battle. Thunderhawk King was surprised. He could feel that after the battle, Du Xiaofu's comprehension of various profundities had obviously increased by a lot. Walala, the profundity aura fluctuated. Ancient talisman runes gradually appeared around Du Xiaofu's body, forming an 8 trigrams pattern. Golden light flickered behind him, and a purple-gold thunder rock flapped its wings and soared. Du Xiaofu's eyes were tightly closed. Under the light, it seemed like he had gained a fortune. His body released purple-gold electric arcs, emitting multicolored light, like a god. Chi. 3 days later, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. His aura was astonishing. His figure swept across the sky and directly entered the light screen in front of him. Rumble, this time, Du Xiaofu encountered an illusionary majestic middle-aged man. The illusionary body's muscles were like horned dragons, erupting with a terrifying power, shattering the space with a raise of his hand. Du Xiaofu attacked with all his strength. Lightning Martial Vein, Vein Spirit, 8 trigrams profundity, Lightning Profundity, and Golden Winged Rock's Beast Energy. They fought until the sky turned dark and the earth turned dark, until the void collapsed. That illusionary majestic middle-aged man's strength was also pushed to the limit, erupting with unparalleled attacks. But this time, Du Xiaofu didn't lose. He fought with the middle-aged man for a full 4 hours. He was only at a disadvantage and was defeated in the end. The middle-aged man's arm was crushed by Du Xiaofu's claw, but Du Xiaofu's fist had also shattered the great ping wings on his back. Fresh blood splattered all over the void. Retreat. Du Xiaofu didn't continue to fight. He quickly retreated, leaving the light screen. He stuffed a lot of medicinal pills and spirit medicines into his mouth, then continued to breathe and adjust his breathing. He also continued to comprehend what he had gained from the battle. Du Xiaofu wanted to use the ancient desolate space to save time, but all the treasures here were sealed and he couldn't use them. Walala, mysterious runes wrapped around Du Xiaofu and spread out like ripples. Du Xiaofu's injuries had already healed under the effect of the indestructible Xian body. He has comprehended something again. His comprehension ability is truly terrifying. The Mia Meng King's expression changed as he gasped in astonishment. Continue. 4 days later, Du Xiaofu was fully recovered. He stood up and stretched his body. The bones in his entire body were emitting explosive crackling sounds. The aura of his body had also undergone an imperceptible change. Du Xiaofu entered the light screen again and encountered a huge illusory python. It had 9 heads and was extremely terrifying. It was an ancient ferocious beast. But this time, Du Xiaofu was still defeated, but the illusory flood dragon didn't gain much of an advantage. He was still recovering and comprehending at the same time. A few days later, Du Xiaofu fought again. He encountered an illusory old woman and lost again. Continue, Du Xiaofu's body was dripping with blood. The great ping wings on his back were damaged again, and his robes were tattered. Roar, at the same time, Mo Tian Zhao didn't stay idle. He was influenced by Du Xiaofu, and after recovering from his injuries, he charged into the light screen again. A few days later, Du Xiaofu fought again. Defeated and drenched in blood, Du Xiaofu was fearless. He healed and continued. Time passed slowly. Du Xiaofu continued. Every time he was defeated, Du Xiaofu wasn't disappointed. Instead, his eyes were filled with joy and battle intent. The 10th time, Du Xiaofu was defeated. The void was shattered, and pale golden blood splashed. He was almost dead. The 11th time, Du Xiaofu was defeated. His shoulders were penetrated. The 32nd time, Du Xiaofu was defeated again. At this moment, Du Xiaofu didn't know how many pills and elixirs he had taken. There was no sun, moon, or stars in the void. He could only roughly estimate the time. It was likely that several months had passed. This is too terrifying. This guy is completely a battle maniac. The Thunderhawk King was completely astonished. Every time Du Xiaofu was defeated while dripping with blood, Du Xiaofu would recover in a short period of time and continue to fight energetically. If it was an ordinary person, it would probably be impossible for them to endure. Moreover, after dozens of defeats, ordinary people would have lost their spirit and would start to despair. However, Du Xiaofu was getting braver and braver as he fought. After every battle, he would gain enlightenment. He's getting stronger. Mian King was astonished. After every battle, she could clearly feel that Du Xiaofu was getting stronger after every defeat. This time, Du Xiaofu seemed to be comprehending for an especially long time. He hadn't woken up even after more than 10 days. No, it shouldn't be like this. All of a sudden, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. Purple gold lightning was fluctuating around him. The 8 trigrams pattern around him fluctuated. His black hair fluttered in the wind. His whole body was shining with golden light. Behind him, there was a purple gold thunder rock's shadow. Then, Du Xiaofu closed his eyes again and continued to immerse himself in enlightenment. During this period of time, Mo Tianxiao was in the same situation as Du Xiaofu. He was defeated time and time again. However, his recovery time was much slower than Du Xiaofu's. He entered the light screen for a total of 5 battles. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu had entered the light screen for 32 times. Boom! After about half a month, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes again. The aura around him swept out and shook the void. For the 33rd time, Du Xiaofu entered the light screen and met the old man again. The old man's white beard fluttered in the wind. He looked like an immortal. However, his attack was destructive. He could destroy the void with a raise of his hand. This battle lasted for more than 6 hours. Du Xiaofu hadn't been defeated. Both he and the old man were injured. It was obvious that neither of them had the upper hand. He has made great progress. What a terrifying speed. Du Xiaofu was already able to fight evenly with his opponent. The speed at which Du Xiaofu was improving was absolutely terrifying. It was so fast that no one could catch up to him. Du Xiaofu's speed of improvement was absolutely terrifying. The thing that caused Mo Tianxiao to be secretly stunned was that although so much time had passed, the aura on Du Xiaofu's body had clearly yet to reach the peak of the nirvana stage. However, he was already able to obtain an extraordinary victory against his opponent within the light curtain. The opponent in the light screen represented an invincible existence in the same realm. This undoubtedly meant that Du Xiaofu hadn't reached the peak of Nirvana realm. However, he was already at the peak of Nirvana realm. If Du Xiaofu really reached the peak of Nirvana realm, he would be able to sweep through everyone in the same realm. It would be difficult for him to find an opponent. Even killing opponents of a higher realm wouldn't be a problem. It should be known that with the strength of Du Xiaofu's opponents in the light screen, Mo Tianxiao, even Thunderhawk King and Mian King were very clear. If those opponents were in the outside world, they would be able to severely injure an ordinary domain realm expert even if they didn't die. In this battle, Du Xiaofu was injured. His injuries were very serious. However, he wasn't defeated. The old man was also in a miserable state. Many parts of his body were damaged by Du Xiaofu. There were dents on his body, which meant that he was also severely injured. However, Du Xiaofu didn't continue fighting. He felt that he couldn't completely defeat his opponent. He retreated and continued to consume medicinal pills to heal his injuries. He immersed himself in comprehension. This time, Du Xiaofu took a long time to comprehend. The golden rock wings on his back were also recovering. Walala, the golden rock wings on Du Xiaofu's back glowed with golden light. The mysterious runes on the talisman fluctuated. His blood essence turned into feathers. At this moment, they became more condensed and resplendent. They were no longer as immature as before. Their aura also became more domineering and fierce. Chi. Several days later, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. The mysterious runes on the talisman retracted into his body. He entered the light screen in front of him for the 34th time. Roar! This time, Du Xiaofu encountered an illusory phoenix. Raging flames surged as it flapped its wings and cut through the void. It pounced towards Du Xiaofu. Boom! Du Xiaofu used his full strength right from the start. First, he used the 8 trigrams profound, condensing the 8 trigrams diagram. The vision in the sky directly affected the phoenix shadow in the chaotic void. The overbearing fists blasted out, accompanied by the roars of dragons and the cries of elephants. His aura looked down on the world. Gee! The illusory phoenix roared. First, it flapped its wings and broke through the void. Raging flames surged and its sharp claws shook Du Xiaofu's fist. Then, it flapped its wings and circled around. Its huge body of flames burned the void and swept across. One of its wings quickly shattered the void and extended towards Du Xiaofu. Under the influence of the 8 trigrams diagram, Du Xiaofu rapidly dodged the attack with the unfettered steps. The phoenix's wings shattered a large part of the void. A series of explosions resounded in the void. Raging flames surged with lightning and thunder, causing the void to become chaotic and terrifying. Du Xiaofu counterattacked. He raised his hand and activated the thunder martial vein. His martial vein soul primordial spirit flew out. Suddenly, the thunder profound erupted. Resplendent lightning arcs filled the sky and bombarded the illusory phoenix. The phoenix's raging flames erupted and formed a sea of fire. It resisted the 8 trigrams profound, and spiritual thunder, but it was greatly affected. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Du Xiaofu attacked with all his might, causing the space to boil and become chaotic. Gradually, under Du Xiaofu's ferocious attacks, he was already suppressing the illusory phoenix, causing the distant Thunderhawk King, Mo Tian Xiao and Mia Meng King to be dumbstruck and flabbergasted. Gee! The illusory phoenix screeched. Sizzling flames burned. They were not ordinary flames. The terrifying might made the void tremble. On the illusory phoenix's body, there were also resplendent scarlet runes flickering. They turned into the divine phoenix mark, which contained the phoenix race's profound. Tens of thousands of rays of multicolored light, blazing with incomparable heat. Its aura shook the 9 heavens. It was incomparably vast and surging violently, suppressing Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu shivered and carefully dealt with it. He did not dare to be careless. He used the golden-winged rock and the thunder martial vein to merge with the purple-gold thunder rock. He turned into a golden sea and borrowed the 8 trigrams profound to clash with the illusory phoenix. Chapter 1721. Rumble. This kind of battle was simply apocalyptic, causing the illusory image to shatter. Du Xiaofu and the illusory phoenix clashed continuously, both were sent flying, and then clashed again. Pooh! Du Xiaofu spat out blood, but the illusory phoenix was not in a good state either. Many of its talisman patterns had been shattered. Du Xiaofu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, the golden wings of the great rock flapping behind him, and continued to attack. This was an astonishing collision. Du Xiaofu seemed to have decided to go all out this time, continuously clashing with the illusory phoenix, and also receiving heavy injuries. Du Xiaofu's flesh cracked, and was dripping with blood, but then slowly recovered in the great battle, but not long after, he was injured again. This kind of battle was too terrifying. That illusory phoenix did not know pain, like an inanimate object, but its strength was so real. The successive battles caused Du Xiaofu to be greatly affected, his injuries becoming more and more serious, and blood was flowing. However, Du Xiaofu was very fierce, and fearless. Under the shock of Mo Tianxiao, Thunder Eagle King, and Mie Meng Wang, he was heavily injured several times. Most likely, ordinary people would not be able to withstand it, but Du Xiaofu was still fighting fiercely while bleeding. Gee! The illusory phoenix screeched, its body also felt like it was about to break into pieces. Raging flames flared, flapping its wings, and swooping down, as if covering the sky, wanting to suppress Qin Qiong. But on the 8 trigrams diagram, the illusory phoenix was greatly affected, but its power was still terrifying, erupting with rolling flames, wanting to drown everything and burn everything in the void. Gee! On the 8 trigrams diagram, strange scenes appeared in the sky. Du Xiaofu condensed the purple gold thunder rock, and would not be inferior to the illusory phoenix. Arcs of electricity erupted, and thunder exploded, fighting fiercely while bathed in blood. His flesh was cracking, and his hair was dyed with blood. The golden wings of the great rock behind him were shattering, and the feathers were shattering, turning into blood essence that poured out. But Du Xiaofu was still attacking, like a human-shaped great rock striking the sky, like a peerless vicious beast attacking, incomparably domineering, looking down on the world. Boom! Du Xiaofu once again collided with the phoenix image, and this was the most tyrannical collision. Arcs of lightning fluctuated as the sky was filled with flames that overflowed into the heavens. The space was chaotic to the point it was impossible to see anything, and talisman markings interweaved all over the sky. It was so resplendent that even the Thunderhawk King and the others were unable to look directly at it, and were somewhat unable to open their eyes. Gee! Finally, Du Xiaofu shattered one of the phoenix's wings with a single punch, causing the phoenix to shriek and roar as if it was alive. In the next moment, Du Xiaofu condensed the purple gold thunder rock. Its eyes were like purple suns as it flapped its wings and soared into the sky. With the assistance of the 8 trigrams and the support of the 8 trigrams profound, it caused the void to rumble like thunder. The nirvanic power of a grand paragon surged as 9 divine rings appeared in the sky and swooped down on the phoenix. This was Du Xiaofu's all-out attack. Blazing golden light and purple gold lightning flooded the void. It was a bloody struggle, but in the end, Du Xiaofu really did it and completely shattered the phoenix phantom. Rumble, the sky was filled with raging talisman markings, and the huge phoenix phantom's body exploded in the void. A large area of the void was collapsing, revealing pitch-black spatial cracks that filled the void like a spider web. Pfff, Du Xiaofu spat out golden blood from his mouth. It congealed and didn't disperse before disappearing into the void. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body was cracked to the point where his bones could be seen. His clothes were ragged, and his hair was disheveled. The Demon King was ferocious. He won, he really won. The Thunderhawk King was excited. His eyes emitted lightning as he clenched his fists and said with a trembling voice, he really succeeded. Mo Tianxiao and Mie Meng King's eyes also revealed a divine light. When they saw the phoenix phantom being shattered by Du Xiaofu, they were overwhelmed with shock. Defeating the opponent of the virtual shadow was equivalent to becoming the strongest existence in the same realm. How terrifying was that? Especially Mo Tianxiao, he was the clearest about it. Du Xiaofu had just broken through to the Nirvana realm not long ago. He obviously hadn't reached the peak of the Nirvana realm, but at this moment, he had already become the strongest existence in the same realm. He comprehended in battle time and time again. He fought with his life on the line, and finally achieved his current strength. He became the strongest existence in the same realm. Mie Meng King's entire body trembled. He was deeply shocked by this scene. He originally thought that it was impossible to succeed, but at this moment, he really succeeded. Walala, the phoenix phantom was shattered, and a rain of light poured down. However, it didn't disperse in the end. Just as the void recovered, the shattered phoenix phantom turned into a rain of light. In the end, it strangely enveloped Du Xiaofu. Those threads of light rain were soft and enveloped, filled with spiritual splendor. Then, they directly drilled into Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, a strange scene appeared. As the rain of light drilled into his body, the heavy injuries on Du Xiaofu's body started to miraculously recover. The broken feathers on his back started to condense, shining with a dazzling golden light. Du Xiaofu's cracked body didn't need the effect of the indestructible Xian body. At this moment it was also recovering strangely. His body was sparkling and translucent. What shocked Du Xiaofu the most was that the profound qi and primordial spirit power in his spirit gate and Naiwen palace were also recovering miraculously. That rain of light was the purest energy. There was no need for Du Xiaofu to refine it at all. It directly drilled into Du Xiaofu's body and turned into the purest profound qi and primordial spirit power. Boom! The pure energy transformed from the rain of light not only allowed Du Xiaofu to recover to the peak of his prime, the most important thing was that it allowed the aura on Du Xiaofu's body to rise at the same time. His profound qi and primordial spirit power were both increasing. His aura continued to rise. Du Xiaofu was getting stronger. It shook the void in all directions, like the sound of wind and thunder. He's getting stronger. He's directly getting stronger. Thunder Eagle King and Mia Meng King cried out in shock. At Du Xiaofu's current nirvana realm, his aura was visibly getting stronger. How terrifying was this? It was simply unheard of. Defeating the phantom opponent and becoming the strongest existence in the same realm. Is this his reward? Mo Tian Shao muttered softly. His mind was also trembling violently. Du Xiaofu's aura continued to rise. It was like sitting on a rocket, causing Mo Tian Shao, Thunder Eagle King, Mia Meng King, and the others outside the light screen to continue to be astonished. However, in the end, Du Xiaofu's aura did not rise to the point where it could break through to the next level. It slowly weakened. When Du Xiaofu's aura completely stopped, his eyelashes slightly moved. His tightly shut eyes opened. The light in his eyes was as resplendent as lightning, shooting straight into the blue dome of heaven. The aura on his body exploded, like a storm that swept out in all directions. He did not break through to the next level, but at this moment, Du Xiaofu's aura was clearly much stronger than before. What surprised Du Xiaofu the most was his spirit gate and Naiwen palace. Under the pure energy of the strange light rain, the spirit gate and Naiwen palace in his body seemed to be expanding his territory and had expanded quite a bit. The strange pure energy of the rain of light seemed to have a strange effect. It was able to directly expand the spirit gate and Naiwen palace. Du Xiaofu's Naiwen palace and body were already abnormal enough. They were enough to instantly kill people with the same cultivation. At this moment, on top of his original foundation, Du Xiaofu's spirit gate and Naiwen palace in his body expanded by more than 1-fold. This also led to Du Xiaofu's aura not increasing even after the vast amount of pure energy entered his body. It only increased by more than 1-fold. It was because his body and Naiwen palace had expanded by more than 1-fold. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.